Chapter 1439. What kind of place was the celestial world? Why did the human, demon, and Yueshin all want to go back? Was that place really that good? It's all my fault. If I die now, it'll be a relief. Yueshin whispered with a smile on her face. She didn't want Jiangchen to worry, nor did she want others to see the pain in her heart. Jiangchen didn't say anything, only gently stroking her hair. After a few breaths of time, he slowly got up and gazed into the distance. His expression gradually turned solemn. The path is ahead. There will definitely be a way. With that, Jiangchen told Lu Ming and the others to take care of Yueshin before he left. The ancestral realm was very big. The mountains and rivers were always there, and the sun, moon, and stars were everlasting. Jiangchen wandered around the ancestral realm, traversing the mountains and rivers, and stepping on thousands of rivers. He was slowly perfecting his superior Tao technique. My Tao is the Tao of everyone in the world. Everyone has it, and so do I, Jiangchen whispered, comprehending the Tao technique in his heart. Time slowly passed, and in the blink of an eye, a year had passed. During this year, the three worlds were very quiet and peaceful. Yuan Zhu and the Dark Man didn't appear. The human and demon emperors didn't come out of the three Yin realms either. As for the three Yang realms, it was even more prosperous. With the enthusiastic help of the 9 ancient spirits, the three Yang realms' current strength vaguely felt like it could suppress the three Yin realms. In the three Yang realms, the people of the world were singing praises of the 9 ancient spirits. With the power of will of heaven and earth, the 9 ancient spirits were even more extraordinary. However, to the 9 ancient spirits, although their days in the three Yang realms were comfortable, they still wanted to ascend to immortality every time they were asked. However, they were worried that the celestial world was about to destroy the three worlds. They were afraid that someone would ascend and bring darkness into the celestial world. Therefore, if they ascended to immortality, would the celestial world tolerate them? If not, then they would definitely die after ascending. We came to the three Yang realms to become immortals. If we can't become immortals, we'd rather die. One of the ancient spirits said in a low voice, although I'm living a good life now, if I don't go to the immortal realm to take a look, I won't be satisfied even if I die. The purpose of cultivation is to become an immortal. Now that the path to becoming an immortal is right in front of us, yet we don't dare to ascend. Fate really makes fools of us. The 9 ancient spirits sighed as they raised their heads to look at the endless sky. It was as though they could see the mountains, rivers, sun, and moon of the immortal world. After the final battle, as long as I am still alive, I will ascend. Even if I die in the immortal world, I will accept it. Yes, after the final battle, if you're still alive, you can ascend. In the end, the 9 great ancient spirits finished their discussion and began to go into seclusion. Everyone knew that as long as Yuan Zhu, the Dark Man, and the twin emperors of human and demon were present, the three worlds would inevitably have a decisive battle. This battle concerned the life and death of the three worlds. The 9 great ancient spirits were extremely strong, but they didn't dare act carelessly either. Right now, they were in seclusion, wishing to break through again. By the way, have you been to the celestial realm? At this moment in the ancestral realm, the lamp-bearer and the unrivaled warrior sat together, looking at the sun, moon, mountains, and rivers. The lamp-bearer asked curiously. He had a feeling that the unrivaled warrior wasn't simple. I've been there and then I came back. The unrivaled warrior smiled. That's not a good place. As expected, with your strength, you can break through the gate of heaven and ascend to become an immortal. I knew it was impossible for you not to have been to the celestial realm. The lamp-bearer frowned and then asked, is the celestial realm really that bad? It's all the same. The great wide world isn't beautiful either. The unrivaled warrior said, it's just that I feel that in comparison, I still like this place. It's the same wherever I go. The lamp-bearer said, of course, if he returns and wants to ascend to the celestial realm, I can accompany him. You came from the ancient realm. and the darkness first erupted in the ancient realm. The celestial realm can't tolerate you. The unrivaled warriors said, if you go, you'll be courting death. The lamp-bearer heard this and smiled without saying anything. The celestial realm can't tolerate him? Perhaps. However, if it really came to that step, even if the road was broken, he would still take a trip. Not for anything else, but for that man. Hey kid, I have something to discuss with you. At the same time, in a forest in the ancestral realm, Yuan's suddenly appeared and found Jiang Chen. Jiang Chen's expression changed greatly. The power in his body erupted, and he was ready to fight. Why are you panicking? If I really want to fight, would I come alone? Yuan's was said angrily. The power in his body was calm, and it didn't look like he was going to fight. Discuss what? What's there to discuss between us? Jiang Chen's face was cold. He really had nothing to say to Yuan's. However, Yuan's next sentence made Jiang Chen's heart beat violently. I can help you solve the dark power in Yueshin's body, but the premise is that you have to help me find the Red Spider Lily clan. Yuan's said, What? You have a way? Jiang Chen's eyes narrowed. Naturally, he didn't believe him. As long as I devour Yueshin's cultivation, the dark power in her body will naturally disappear. However, if that happens, Yueshin will become immortal, Yuan's said. However, for her, it's a good thing. After all, she's still conscious and wants to return to the light. You don't play tricks. Jiang Chen stared at Yuan's. He was worried that if Yuan's devoured Yueshin's cultivation, he would also devour Yueshin. Jiang Chen didn't want to see that happen. Don't worry, Yuan's said. Now, let's talk about the Red Spider Lily clan. I want to find them. Why? Jiang Chen asked. The Red Spider Lily clan had disappeared for a long time. Ever since they joined the Yang Three Realms, no one knew where they went. Perhaps they were hiding in the Yang Three Realms, or perhaps they were still in the ancestral land of the Red Spider Lily clan. You really don't know? Yuan's was stunned. The Red Spider Lily clan is immortal. Why do you think that's the reason? Is it really because of their true bodies? Or because of their ancestral land? Without waiting for Jiang Chen to speak, Yuan's shook his head. No. Neither is correct. The reason the Red Spider Lily clan is immortal is because there is a grain of soil in their ancestral land. Soil? Just one grain? Jiang Chen was dumbfounded. What was the use of a grain of soil? Could it be that a grain of soil was enough to make the Red Spider Lily clan immortal? The coffin that Yueshin found was buried under the soil, Yuan's said. The soil was scattered all over the world, but most of it was destroyed by the immortal realm. However, one grain of soil was left behind. No one knows where it went. Do you think that grain of soil is the same as the one in the Red Spider Lily clan? If it is, then the Red Spider Lily clan must have been corrupted by the darkness. And I naturally want them. I want to find that grain of soil. Chapter 1440. The origin soil did not belong to this world. It belonged to the immortal world. It came from the Dark Moon clan and belonged to the darkest part of the world. However, to the people of this world, this origin soil was like a holy medicine to those who had been corrupted. It was easy to imagine that the Red Spider Lilies were immortal because of that grain of origin soil. If the origin soil was obtained by the seed of origin, the consequences would be unimaginable. According to the seed of origin, he wanted to devour the Red Spider Lily clan and obtain more dark force. If the seed of origin devoured the Red Spider Lily clan and obtained more dark force and the origin soil, then who in this world could stop him? The moon god will understand me, Jiang Chen said softly. He did not want to make this deal with the seed of origin. I am only here to discuss with you. As for whether you agree or not, that is your problem. The seed of origin chuckled. When the time comes and you see your loved ones fall into the darkness and cannot be saved, then don't blame me for not giving you a chance. We don't need you to worry about us, Jiang Chen said in a low voice. After speaking, Jiang Chen waved his hand, indicating that the seed of origin could leave. The seed of origin did not leave immediately. Instead, he looked at Jiang Chen with a smile that was not a smile and said, You are so calm because you know that I cannot find the Red Spider Lily clan, right? What if I tell you that finding the Red Spider Lily clan is only a matter of time? Will you reconsider my suggestion? There is no room for discussion. Jiang Chun rejected him directly. This kind of thing was not a matter of discussion. There was no room for discussion. If Yuan's strength was allowed to increase by a large margin, then the three worlds would definitely be destroyed. When that time comes, not to mention saving people, even he himself would die. Okay, remember what you said now. You will regret it. The seed of Origin's face darkened. After glaring at Jiang Chun, he finally left. Not long after the seed of Origin left, a dark figure suddenly appeared beside Jiang Chun. This figure was also filled with dark force. It was also a corrupted being. However, Jiang Chun wasn't afraid at all. Instead, he looked at the other party meaningfully and asked slowly, "Have you really been corrupted?" "We've been corroded a long time ago, but we haven't lost our consciousness," said the figure. Then he transformed into his true form. It was none other than one of the patriarchs of the Permitha flower clan. He had probably been in the vicinity the whole time, hiding his presence. He had also heard the conversation between Yuan Zhan and Jiang Chun. "Why have you come this time?" Jiang Chun asked. "Seeking refuge." The ancestor of the Permitha flower clan was very direct. "Back then, you promised that no matter what, you would help the Permitha flower clan. Now, it's time for you to fulfill your promise." "Oh, could it be that you had already expected this day to come?" Jiang Chun asked. "Of course. As long as the Origin land remains in the hands of the Resurrection Lily clan, that day will come." The ancestor sighed. "We have no choice. Now that the entire clan has formed a connection with the Origin land, we won't be corrupted. However, we can't lose the Origin land either. If we lose it, our entire clan will disappear in an instant." Jiang Chun frowned when he heard this. He was even more confused. The power of darkness could corrode everything. Even the celestial world was wary of it. Then, how did the Permitha flower clan resist the power of darkness? Although they had the power of darkness, they hadn't been corrupted. "Protect us, and I'll help you deal with the power of darkness in the moon god's body," the ancestor said. "Perhaps she can even benefit from this disaster." "Really?" Jiang Chun hurriedly asked. One had to know that the moon god was extremely important to Jiang Chun. If he could save the moon god, Jiang Chun was naturally willing to help the Permitha flower clan. Moreover, even if the moon god wasn't involved, Jiang Chun would still protect the Permitha flower clan. He couldn't let them fall into Yuan Zhan's hands. Otherwise, this world would be destroyed. "I swear in the name of the clan that it's absolutely true," the ancestor of the Permitha flower clan said seriously. "If you agree now, I'll immediately have the clan come over and migrate to the ancestral realm." "This?" "Okay." Jiang Chun nodded. It could be seen that the ancestor of the Permitha flower clan was really anxious. Perhaps it wouldn't be long before Yuan Zhan found the Permitha flower clan. They didn't have time. Buzz. At this moment, the ancestor's body bloomed with light and transformed into his main body. This was a huge Permitha flower that took root in the void. At this moment, this Permitha flower bloomed, and one after another Permitha flowers appeared. These were all his clansmen. He had always brought his clansmen with him. "It seems that you've been prepared," Jiang Chun whispered and brought the Permitha flower clan to the #1 sect in the south of the ancestral realm. As soon as he returned, Invincible Warrior was immediately shocked. He stared at the Permitha flower clan with an unfriendly expression. After all, this clan had betrayed the Great Thousand World and defected to the Yang Three Realms. Now, this clan dared to appear and even dared to come to the ancestral realm. Weren't they courting death? Fortunately, Jiang Chun explained in time. Otherwise, with Invincible Warrior's strength, it was enough to destroy the entire Permitha flower clan. "What did you say? Origin soil?" At this moment, the lantern bearer was shocked. He had heard of the Origin soil, but he didn't expect it to be in the Permitha flower clan. "These guys are treasures now. We have to protect them well." Jiang Chun smiled bitterly. "They betrayed the Great Thousand World, and now we have to protect them." How ridiculous. Invincible Warrior also smiled bitterly, thinking that this script was a bit too much. They had to protect traders and they couldn't refuse. Let's get down to business first. Jiang Chun looked at the ancestors of the Permitha flower clan and pointed at the weak moon goddess. Hurry up. Of course. Don't worry. Then, the ancestors of the Permitha flower clan took action. Streaks of dark power fell like a black dragon and entered Moon Goddess's body. For a moment, Moon Goddess's body trembled, and her aura skyrocketed. A bright moon vaguely rose. However, there was a wisp of darkness steaming in the bright moon, and as time passed, this wisp of darkness became denser and denser. Can you guys do it? The dark power in her body is getting stronger and stronger. Jiang Chen's face was gloomy. He couldn't stay calm in the face of this. Don't worry. The worst-case scenario is to become a cripple. Shut up. Watch. The ancestors of the Permitha flower clan seemed to be struggling, and the power in their bodies was about to be exhausted. At the same time, the dark light in Moon Goddess's eyes skyrocketed, and even the bright moon behind her became a black moon. However, Jiang Chen and the others could feel and see that there was endless clarity in Moon Goddess's dark eyes. I'm back? After half a day, Moon Goddess spoke, as if she was surprised. She felt the power in her body, and all her divine power had turned into dark power. However, this dark power was completely under her control, and it wouldn't erode her soul and mind. Chapter 1441. She wore a purple robe and had a head of white hair. Her eyes were as dark as the abyss, and the moon behind her was even darker. Under the moon god's light, everything around her became so bright and full of light. As for her, she seemed to have fallen into endless darkness, like a fairy in the darkness. She looked at Jiang Chen excitedly. She couldn't believe that she could control the power of darkness in her body. Jiang Chen was also very excited. Seeing that the moon god had recovered, he couldn't help but rush up and hug her tightly. The people around them quietly left. They were very tactful and didn't want to disturb Jiang Chen and the moon god. You're finally back. Jiang Chen sighed in his heart. The moon god he saw now was the real moon god. Although the bright moon had already turned black, its mind was still clear and bright. Do you hate me? After a few breaths, the moon god looked up at Jiang Chen. She couldn't hide the self-blame in her eyes. She knew very well that if she hadn't schemed against Jiang Chen back then, Jiang Chen would have returned long ago. The thing that made the moon god feel the most ashamed and unable to face Jiang Chen was that she had wanted to kill Jiang Chen before. Jiang Chen smiled and shook his head. He didn't blame the moon god. After all, the moon god had been corroded by darkness and lost her consciousness. It's good that you're back. Don't leave again. Jiang Chen stroked the moon god's shoulder and said gently, I won't leave again. The moon god nodded and snuggled up to Jiang Chen's chest like a little bird. The two of them looked up at the starry sky of the ancestral realm. It was very peaceful. There wasn't the passion of a reunion after a long separation, nor was there a fiery passion. Everything was so relaxed. In the middle of the night, the moon god slowly got up and said, I have to return to the ancient underworld to take care of some things. Once I'm done, I'll disband the ancient underworld and return to your side. Okay, I'll wait for you in the ancestral realm, Jiang Chen said softly. In the end, the two of them parted ways. As for Jiang Chen, he didn't go anywhere. He sat cross-legged on the ground, set up a formation, and began to cultivate in seclusion. Time was running out, and Yuan Zhu would soon know that the red spider lilies were in the ancestral realm. With the original seat's personality, he would definitely come knocking on the door. At that time, a great battle would begin. If this battle were to begin, it would most likely be a decisive battle. It was as if a fuse had been lit, and a decisive battle was unavoidable. Why is the immortal path of the three realms of Yang gone? Is it closed? At the same time, in the Yang three realms, the 9 ancient spirits opened up a void. Looking at the empty space in front of them, the 9 ancient spirits had ugly expressions. This place was originally where the path to celestial cultivation in the three realms of the Yang realm was. They originally wanted to test it out and step onto the path to celestial cultivation. But today, he discovered that the path to immortality had disappeared. A decree from the immortal realm? At this moment, one of the ancient spirits' expression turned ugly. He saw a decree filled with immortal force where the path of immortality had disappeared. There were no other words on the decree except for the word suppress. Damn it, is the immortal realm planning to completely destroy our hope? How ruthless. They actually suppressed the path to immortality. This is too much. The 9 ancient spirits were furious. The path to immortality in the upper-class world was cut off, and the path to immortality in the 3 realms of the Yang 3 realms was suppressed. Did they have to go to the 3 realms of the Yin 3 realms? But thinking about it carefully, since the immortal realm had taken action and suppressed the path to immortality in the 3 realms of the Yang 3 realms, then the path to immortality in the 3 realms of the Yin 3 realms was most likely suppressed as well. In this way, the hope of immortality in the 3 realms of the 3 realms was completely cut off. We have cultivated for tens of thousands of years and experienced life and death, but the immortal realm doesn't give us any hope. This is too much. If one day I go to the immortal realm, I will definitely ask the immortal king why. The 9 ancient spirits roared angrily and roared toward the sky, their voices echoing throughout the 3 realms of the Yang 3 realms. On the other side, in the 3 realms of the Yin 3 realms, the human emperor and the demon emperor looked at the suppressed path to immortality and smiled bitterly. At this moment, they completely understood that the immortal realm had given up on them and cut off their path to return. We wholeheartedly wanted to return to the immortal realm and work for it. But in the end, in their eyes, we are just losers. The human emperor's expression was ugly, and a stifling fire burned in his heart. Ever since they had descended to the lower realm, they had been working for the immortal realm, hoping to gain the immortal realm's recognition and allow them to return. But in the end, they realized that the immortal realm had never intended to let them return. Perhaps in the eyes of the immortal kings, they were just losers. Perhaps it's time to rebel, the demon emperor said in a low voice. Since the immortal realm doesn't want us, then we don't have to do anything for it anymore. I am Taoist Heavenspan, so why should I break in with the heavens? What do you plan to do? The human emperor's expression froze. Although he was asking, he had actually guessed the demon emperor's plan. If the immortal realm doesn't want us to become immortals, then all the more I will become one. Not only will I become an immortal, but I will also make the 3 realms immortal. I want to see how capable the immortal realm is. The demon emperor's eyes shone brightly. His black Taoist robe fluttered, and he left the 3 Yin realms. The human emperor followed closely behind. After the 2 entered the greater 1,000 realms, they entered the ancestral realm. Oh, what are the 2 of you doing in my ancestral realm? The unrivaled warrior immediately sensed their presence and found them with a grave expression. This was because the human emperor and the demon emperor had previously threatened to destroy the 3 realms. Therefore, the unrivaled warrior didn't treat these 2 emperors well. To help you reconnect the path to immortality, the demon emperor said seriously, I know that the path to immortality in the greater 1,000 realms is in the ancestral realm, but it's broken. I can help you reconnect it. The immortal realm has abandoned us. The human emperor sighed. In that case, why should we continue to work for the immortal realm? Oh, the unrivaled warrior frowned. He naturally wouldn't believe the 2 emperors just because of a few words. It's up to you to believe it or not. The demon emperor's temper was also very bad. He said bluntly, it doesn't matter if you don't want to become an immortal, but there are many people in the world who want to become an immortal. Don't cut off the path to immortality for the sake of your thoughts. In this world, only I know how to reconnect the path to immortality. The unrivaled warrior couldn't help but fall silent. He was deliberating and considering. After a few breaths, he called the lamp-bearer over and asked, what do you think? This matter, it's better to ask him, the lamp-bearer muttered. Back then, The path to immortality was also cut off by him. This he didn't return, the unrivaled warrior said with a frown. As soon as he finished speaking, Jiangchen appeared here. With a smile on his face, he looked at the two emperors and said, I naturally agree that the two of you want to reconnect the path to immortality. But are you sure that the path really leads to the immortal realm? There are two paths to immortality in the greater thousand realms. There's one that was born and raised by heaven and earth. Later on, I open up the other, and these two paths are not good paths, Jiangchen teased. It was obvious that there was a hidden meaning in his words. Chapter 1442. There had always been only one path to immortality in each major world. Only the greater world had opened up a second path because of one of Jiangchen's lives. Jiangchen hadn't come back yet, so his memory wasn't complete. However, he could guess that neither of these immortal paths was a good path. If the innate path to immortality could really lead to immortality, why were there so few people since ancient times? There had to be something wrong with that path. Or rather, the world of immortals had always been preventing people from becoming immortals. As for the other path, the one Jiangchen had opened up, it had probably gone astray and led to another world. Therefore, no matter what, neither path was a good one. Who knew if it was a good or bad thing to continue on the path to immortality? The three major worlds are in such a situation now. Danger is imminent. If something unexpected happens, the three major worlds will suffer, Unrivaled Immortal said solemnly. I'm not afraid of anything. I dare say that I'm invincible here. If I don't want to die, no one can make me die. You're the ruler of this world, so of course it doesn't matter. The Demon King didn't give Unrivaled Immortal any face. Instead, he looked at him with a hint of mockery and contempt. You don't care, but what about your descendants? What about the ancestral realm? What about the greater world? Actually, you all know that no matter how bad the world of immortals is to us, it's the last pure land. Dark matter has descended, the origin land has appeared, and so has the origin of darkness. The three major worlds won't be able to withstand it and will be destroyed. If everyone can become immortals and leave this place, it'll be the equivalent of saving the three major worlds. The Demon King's words made sense, and Jiangchen, an unrivaled immortal, didn't deny it. However, the current Jiangchen really couldn't trust the Demon Emperor and the Human Emperor. These two were very scheming. He really didn't know what they wanted. Deep love, deep hatred. The Human Emperor sighed. The paths to immortality in the three realms have been suppressed by the world of immortals and can't be opened. The only path that can still be opened is the path to the greater world. The Demon Sovereign and I both love the immortal realm. Thus, in order to return to the immortal realm, we're willing to do anything, no matter the cost. But now, in the eyes of the immortal realm, the Devil Emperor and I are nothing more than ants. They don't care about us at all. As they spoke, a trace of helplessness and bitterness appeared in the eyes of the mortal emperor and Devil Emperor. But there was even more hatred in their eyes. They were defeated, and it was precisely because they were defeated that they were forced to descend to the lower realm. This was a form of banishment, a form of banishment. In the eyes of the people in the immortal world, the loser was nothing. No matter how much he did for the immortal world, he was still a loser. There are some things that you will know when you return. The Demon Emperor sighed. We want to return to the immortal realm, but the immortal realm doesn't want us to. It's not because of the power of darkness, but because they're afraid of us. The immortal realm is afraid of you? Jiangchen was stunned. In the vast immortal realm, there were millions of immortals and immortal kings. How could they be afraid of two emperors? Jiangchen's memory was incomplete, and he had never been to the immortal realm in this life. But he could imagine how powerful the immortal realm was. After all, the immortal realm was an existence that could destroy even the ancient realm. Back then, the six of us represented the six great powers, and we were all under the 10,000 vehicle immortal lord. But after that battle, the 10,000 vehicle immortal lord fell, and our six great powers suffered. In the end, the six of us were forced to flee to the lower realm, the mortal emperor explained. The six of us are the last hope of the six great powers, and even the 10,000 vehicle immortal lord's bloodline. At this point, there was no need for the mortal emperor and devil emperor to explain further. Since they were the last hope, the six of them were the strongest. That was why the immortal realm was afraid of them and didn't want them to return to the immortal realm. The 10,000 vehicle immortal lord is your father, the devil emperor said, raising an eyebrow. So, you still don't want to return to the immortal realm? Don't you want revenge? There's no proof. Why should I believe it? Jiang Chen said softly, but his heart still throbbed when he heard the words 10,000 vehicle immortal lord. Buzz! Suddenly, a tremor erupted from Jiang Chen's body, and a drop of essence blood appeared. It was a drop of the 10,000 transformations divine king's essence blood. At this moment, the drop of essence blood was burning, and an image appeared, reflecting the sun, moon, mountains, and rivers, with mist-like immortal chi. It seemed to be the immortal realm. Above the sun, moon, mountains, and rivers, there was a man who looked like a teenager. His hair was draped over his shoulders, and he looked into the distance with a devilish smile, as if he was looking down on everything in the world. Suddenly, the man turned around, and as if he saw Jiang Chun and the others, he smiled and nodded. He couldn't be heard, but the man's lips were moving. I'll wait for your return. Jiang Chun and the others naturally understood what the man was saying. Meanwhile, the human emperor and devil emperor's figures started to tremble, and their eyes were filled with excitement. They knew that the image was fake, but their eyes reddened, and they even knelt down. 10,000 vehicle, immortal lord, we let you down. The mortal emperor and devil emperor sighed, their voices hoarse. This man is the 10,000 vehicle immortal lord? Jiang Chen frowned. Upon closer inspection, he realized that the man did look similar to him. He's your father, the number one immortal lord in the immortal realm below the immortal king realm. The devil emperor said seriously, your memories are gone, but the blood in your body won't lie. Can't you feel it? In fact, after the image appeared, Jiang Chen's body resonated, as if sensing something. It was a feeling of blood and water, the greatest kind of feeling in the world. He's really my father, Jiang Chun murmured, reaching out to touch the man in the image. However, the essence blood returned to Jiang Chen's body, and the image disappeared. Everything was gone. He was suppressed under Kunlun Mountain. It's because of him that the six of us survived, the devil emperor said. He exchanged his life for our future. Say, should we return to the immortal realm and save him? Wait for me. Jiang Chun did not waste any time. The words, wait for me, were enough to explain everything. The lamp-bearer said solemnly, I'll accompany you back to the immortal realm. It was Jiang Chun who led the lamp-bearer to the light, and it was Jiang Chen's ever-changing heavenly lamp that allowed him to be reborn. Everything he had was given to him by Jiang Chun. In the lamp-bearer's heart, as long as Jiang Chun opened his mouth and nodded his head, he would find a way even if he wanted this world. Why do I feel that something is wrong? Me too. At the same time, Tianzong and Tianhong had strange expressions on their faces on the road to the underworld. They felt that their consciousnesses were gradually dissipating, as if they were about to be taken away from them. Could it be that he's returning? We're going to merge with him? Tianzong exclaimed, impossible. This is impossible. I want to be myself. Actually, after merging with him, we'll still be ourselves. Let's get over it. We can't escape the trap of 10 lifetimes. Tianhong smiled bitterly, but he was still quite optimistic. Chapter 1443. A drop of essence blood appeared, illuminated by the 10,000 vehicle immortal lord. Jiang Chen's heart palpitated, as though he had unlocked some kind of shackle. Tianzong and Tianhong, who were far away on the Yellow Springs Road, sensed it. They realized that Jiang Chun was not far from returning. The two of them sat together, looking at each other with a faint smile. There was bitterness, doubt, and excitement on their faces. Of course, there was still hope. They knew that no one could break the 10 reincarnation cycle. Otherwise, Jiang Chun would have died long ago. How could he have lived until this life? Since that was the case, they could only accept it. And this last hope was that they would still be themselves after the fusion. Actually, he's been quite good in this life, Tianzong said softly. He has never forced me. Back then, he also said that he could choose not to return. He's been quite good. It's just a pity that the wheel of fate will not stop. He has forgotten the past, but fate is still spinning. He can't avoid it. Tianhong sighed. They were one with Jiangchen. In fact, they understood Jiangchen better. If not for the general trend, they firmly believed that Jiangchen would rather not return. Speaking of which, you have all the memories. Then tell me, what kind of person was he in the past? Tianzong asked curiously. Tianhong was a remnant soul, and also the most important part of Jiangchen. He inherited all the memories of Jiangchen's previous lives. But for some reason, Tianhong refused to say anything. If he dies, all of you will die. I'll be the last hope. Tianhong's expression suddenly turned solemn. His eyes shone brightly as he said, "This remnant soul of mine is the last hope." "This is the last resort?" Tianzong asked. Tianhong did not speak. He only stared at Tianzong. At the same time, an obscure aura spread. Tianzong's expression changed drastically. He felt like he was about to be devoured. If he can't return normally, then I'll be in charge of the mission of returning. Tianhong smiled. I confuse with all of you, but I won't do that. After all, I'm just a trump card. At this point, Tianhong could not help but reveal a trace of killing intent. However, there was also a trace of fear in his eyes. He was silent, but he pointed at the endless sky above his head and said, "Someone is watching. Do you think the immortals in the sky are all useless?" "Oh." Tianzong dragged out his voice. Naturally, he understood the reason behind it. At the same time, Tianzong understood that if Jiangchen did not return, he would never be able to rise again. This was because the immortals in the heavens had been watching Jiangchen. It was very difficult for them to descend to the lower realm. Otherwise, they would have long sent people to kill Jiangchen. What a pity. My physical body is sentient and has its own consciousness. If I were to fuse with him, I would truly cease to exist. Tianzong let out a long sigh. However, Tianzong was still grateful to Jiangchen. If it weren't for Tianzong's physical body, he wouldn't have been able to give birth to his consciousness. In the end, everything that the Sky Sect had was given to it by Jiangchen. You can return the physical body to him, and you can keep your consciousness. Tianhong blinked and looked around. There are so many physical bodies here. You want to pick one? It's just possession. What are you afraid of? Tianzong had always wanted to be himself, to be Jiangchen. Therefore, he had never thought of abandoning this physical body. Now, hearing Tianhong's words, Tianzong's expression turned strange. He muttered, "Was his first life also a fraud? What do you think?" Tianhong smiled. Tianzong covered his eyes and smiled bitterly. "Damn it, I knew it. Physical bodies can be changed, but one's nature can't be changed. He's a natural fraud." At the same time, in the ancestral realm, Jiangchen chose to go into seclusion. At the same time, spirit formations were being set up all over the ancestral realm. Those who understood spirit formations, and restrictions were all taking action. They were going to set up a shocking formation to deceive heaven and earth and cover the eyes of the immortals in the heavens. Speaking of which, what are we afraid of? It's just a continuation of the immortal path. Even if the immortals in the heavens don't agree, they can't stop us, right? Could it be that they can descend to the lower realm? I think so too. If the immortals in the heavens could descend to the lower realm, they would have done so long ago. Many people were discussing while setting up the formation. They couldn't understand why they had to be so careful. I've been to the immortal world. The cultivators in the immortal world aren't that simple. If they're really forced into a corner, they can still descend to the lower realm. The unrivaled warriors said, the human emperor and the demon emperor are examples. They were also immortals back then, but didn't they still descend to the lower realm? But everyone was still puzzled. Fortunately, the unrivaled warrior had enough prestige in the ancestral realm. After waving his hand, everyone stopped talking. At this moment, in the ruins of the ancestral court, the time domain was shaking, and waves of obscure fluctuations were erupting and spreading. If someone was in the time domain, they would be shocked to find that there was immortal chi lingering in this place. Moreover, as time passed, the immortal chi here became denser and denser, and even immortal light sprinkled down. In the immortal light, mysterious runes were born, turning into obscure runes that floated in the time domain. At this moment, a pair of eyes suddenly opened, and a domineering aura erupted. At the same time, the fate of heaven and earth gathered, and a rune condensed from immortal chi fell into his body. "It's me, the second court master of the ancestral court. Wakako." This person roared, gathered immortal chi, condensed immortal fate, and comprehended the laws of the immortal Tao at this moment. He stepped on the broken path and walked to the immortal path. Earth Immortal Lu? As expected of Wakako, the Overlord, he actually broke through. He became Earth Immortal Lu. In the time domain, many people woke up, and their eyes were filled with excitement and envy. However, these people soon began to cultivate again, and there wasn't much noise. Time passed slowly. After a month in the outside world, immortal chi erupted again, and another immortal fate rune condensed. This time, the reddish-gold radiance broke through the clouds, and the phantom of a primordial god rose up. At this moment, Jianglu stood in place, surrounded by immortal chi, and roared, "I've become an immortal. Jianglu, this fool, has become an immortal. I will soon." Xiao Qingyi's expression was ugly. He wasn't jealous. He just felt that he wasn't good enough. After all, he had devoured an ancient spirit, and his foundation was extremely deep. Logically speaking, he should be the first person to break through and become an Earth Immortal Lu. But now, before him, Wakako and Jianglu had both become immortals. This was a huge blow to him. However, something that shocked him even more happened 5 days later in the outside world. In the time domain, an extremely terrifying extreme Yin-Chi erupted, and at the same time a snow-like immortal fate was formed. Chapter 1444. Extreme Yin-Chi swept across, an immortal fate condensed. A beautiful figure floated in the air, and immortal chi rose. At this moment, Xiao Qingyi's face darkened, and the corners of his mouth were almost crooked. He looked at Bai Fengyu, unable to accept that Bai Fengyu had become an immortal before him. Am I that weak? Xiao Qingyi began to doubt himself. A few days later, in the time domain, a figure stood proudly between heaven and earth like the Dharma embodiment of heaven and earth. It was an expressionless man, and his eyes seemed to be looking down at the past, present, and future. At the same time, Xiao Qingyi roared out. An immortal chi erupted from his body. An immortal fate condensed. I've finally become an immortal. Xiao Qingyi was extremely excited. At the same time, he looked at the figure and smiled. Thank you. That's the ancient spirit that Xiao Qingyi devoured, right? So powerful. Xiao Qingyi hadn't broken through before. It's most likely because of this ancient spirit. Everyone muttered in their hearts. Soon, they fell silent and focused on their own cultivation. Time passed slowly, and the days in the outside world also passed day by day. Until half a year later, on this day, Jiangchen woke up from his cultivation state with a smile on his face, but he didn't say anything. Behind him, under his feet, and above his head, there were flowers floating, and there were also dragon and tiger figures vibrating. 3 wisps of chaotic aura gathered together and propped him up like a world tree. The 3 Tao souls each shone with colorful light, as if they were going to illuminate everything in the world. She's not back yet? After a few breaths, Jiangchen frowned. He counted the days and realized that the moon goddess had been gone for a long time. Logically speaking, she should be back by now. Did something happen? Jiangchen's heart tightened. He knew that although the ancient netherworld was established by the moon goddess, that place was very deep, and the moon goddess wasn't the only powerful cultivator there. Perhaps there was someone in the ancient netherworld who could contend with the moon goddess. Then, what was going on? The moon goddess hadn't returned yet. Buzz! At this moment, there was a rumble in the ancestral realm. Everything turned illusory, and a great Tao formed. A beam of light shot into the sky. The beam of light didn't have any shackles, and it continued to shoot forward, eventually tearing through the void, breaking through the heavens, and breaking through the barrier of a world. This is the path of immortal ascension. Jiang Chen's eyes focused, staring at that streak of light. He could see immortal energy scattering down from another world, and that world was the celestial realm. Did the Demon Emperor really succeed? Did you reconnect the immortal path? Jiang Chen said in a low voice. Then he flew toward the light beam. When he arrived, he saw unmatched being and the others' excited expressions. There were even some who were bathed in immortal energy, their cultivation levels quickly rising. Even the aura of an unmatched being changed slightly under the immortal energy, becoming even more powerful, even more ferocious. Is this the true path to immortality? Jiang Chen asked. Of course. The Demon Emperor's face was filled with pride. After all, he was the only person in this world who could continue the path to immortality. However, before he could finish speaking, a terrifying power erupted from the other side of the world. Like an invisible palm, the light beam began to fluctuate, as if it was about to be obliterated. If the king doesn't allow you to become immortals, you can't become immortals. A mere loser wants to change fate and continue the path to immortality for the people of this world. In the celestial realm, a majestic voice sounded. At the same time, a finger pierced through the barrier between the two realms, heading straight for the ancestral realm. On that finger, runes swirled. Immortal energy rose, as if it could destroy a world with a single finger. Immortal King! This is an immortal king! The human emperor and the others exclaimed, their hearts filled with shock. They really didn't expect that the continuation of the path to immortality would alarm an immortal king. That was an overlord of the celestial realm. In the entire celestial realm, there were no more than 5 immortal kings. That kind of person could truly overlook the past, present, and future, watching the ups and downs of the world being destroyed. Only they could exist eternally. Such a person was actually alarmed now. At this moment, seeing that finger descending, everyone's heart turned cold. Although the power of an immortal king couldn't pass through the barrier, one finger was enough to destroy a world. If this finger landed on the ancestral realm, without a doubt, the ancestral realm would definitely be destroyed. The heavens have mercy, the earth is fate. Why must a mortal make things difficult for the lower realm? Suddenly, a voice sounded in the void. This voice came from nowhere, but everyone could feel that this voice carried an inexplicable Tao cloud. It was as if this voice represented a great Tao. Everyone in the world, just hearing this voice, felt like they were about to be enlightened. Oh, so you were hiding in the lower realm. The immortal king retracted his finger with surprise. But an even more terrifying immortal energy pressure erupted. Under this pressure, the creatures of the 3 realms felt as if the world was about to collapse. When Wan Cheng was alive, I didn't see you immortal kings so arrogant. At this moment, in the 6 shattered realms, an old man slowly walked out of an ancient tomb. If Jiang Chun saw this person, he would definitely remember that it was this person who had brought him to the tomb of the Great Transformation's Divine King. It was also because of this old man that Jiang Chun had obtained a strand of the Great Transformation's Divine King's essence blood. Back then, Jiang Chun had felt that this old man wasn't simple and was very likely a Divine King. But now it seemed that this old man's identity was even more extraordinary. The human emperor and demon emperor were very calm, as if they'd already known this old man's identity. He's your father's master. The demon emperor sighed. He's also the protector of our 6 great sects, an existence that can contend with an immortal king. Then shouldn't I call him Grand Master? Jiang Chun was stunned. He hadn't expected this old man's identity to be so high. At this moment, this old man had ascended to the heavens in a single step and stood at the end of the immortal path, as if facing the immortal king of the immortal realm. After a few breaths of time, the old man waved his hand and said, "Go back. This is the will of heaven. The 6 great sects will return, and so will the myriad vehicle sect. As for the rest of you, we'll settle old and new debts together. You think I don't dare to descend to the lower realm to fight with you?" The immortal king said coldly. Vast immortal chi hung upside down like a waterfall. However, in front of this old man, what was the use of this immortal chi? He didn't even make a move. He only gently blinked his eyes, and that waterfall-like immortal chi disappeared without a trace. Then, he sat cross-legged at the end of the immortal path with his back facing the common people. The people of the world want to become immortals, so I'll protect them. If the immortals in the heavens dare to stop me, don't blame this old man for not showing mercy. Zhou Kunlun, you're too arrogant. Do you really think there's no one in the immortal realm? With an immortal king overseeing things, you, Zhou Kunlun, are nothing. Even if you have the Kunlun Immortal Mountain behind you, you have to know that the Kunlun Immortal Mountain is not the king of the immortal realm. In the immortal realm, a few angry roars sounded. At the same time, 3 huge phantoms appeared, surrounded by immortal chi and dazzling divine light. Tens of thousands of laws wrapped around their bodies. Chapter 1445. The 3 phantoms represented the 3 great immortal kings, all of them domineering figures in the immortal world. Such figures might not make a move for hundreds or thousands of years, nor would they appear in front of the world, or even disappear forever. They had witnessed everything, and everything was like floating clouds in their eyes, making it difficult for their hearts to stir up any waves. But now, no one would have thought that just Zhou Kunlun would make the 3 great immortal kings appear at the same time. Moreover, listening to the words of these 3 great immortal kings, they seemed to be very afraid of Zhou Kunlun. This made the people of the world puzzled, and even the creatures of the immortal world were depressed and hungry. Who was Zhou Kunlun? He could actually alarm 3 great immortal kings at the same time. He is the master of the 10,000 vehicle immortal lord. He is the gatekeeper of the Kunlun Immortal Mountain. It's him, the number 1 person in the first year of the 10,000 vehicle, the legendary supreme existence who can suppress immortal kings. After a long time, the immortal world was in an uproar. Someone dug out the past and revealed Zhou Kunlun's identity. Back then, the 10,000 vehicle immortal lord ruled over a region. Although he was only an immortal lord, below the immortal king, 1/10 of the immortal world at that time belonged to the 10,000 vehicle immortal lord. One had to know that the immortal world was vast, and to be able to dominate 1/10 of the territory was already rare. And the reason why the 10,000 vehicle immortal lord could do this was not only because the 10,000 vehicle immortal lord's combat strength was comparable to an immortal king, but also because of his master, Zhou Kunlun. According to legend, Zhou Kunlun was an immortal king a long time ago. With his own strength, he had once guarded the Kunlun Immortal Mountain to the death. It could be said that the Kunlun Immortal Mountain was established because of Zhou Kunlun. And in the first year of the 10,000 vehicle, it was also because of Zhou Kunlun that the 10,000 vehicle immortal lord could have such achievements. However, no matter how strong the immortal lord was, he was still an immortal lord. No matter how strong Zhou Kunlun was, he could not block the joint forces of several immortal kings. In the end, the 10,000 vehicle immortal lord was suppressed in the Kunlun Immortal Mountain, and Zhou Kunlun left the immortal world and hid in the lower realm with the seeds of the 6 forces. As time passed, who would have thought that the 6 seeds were still alive? Even Zhou Kunlun was still alive. You are very strong, Zhou Kunlun. We respect you as a king. If you are willing to come to our sect, we will definitely respect. At this moment, several voices rang out from the immortal world. They were openly trying to rope Zhou Kunlun in. Moreover, he was trying to rope them in right in front of the three great celestial kings. Without a doubt, those people who spoke had sufficient resources and strength. They didn't fear the three great celestial kings. There are millions of immortals in the heavens, but not everyone can become an immortal king. Don't make a mistake. One of the immortal kings was enraged. His voice shook the entire immortal world. In an instant, many people shut up. However, there were still people who were willing to take Zhou Kunlun back to the celestial world. Immortal realm? If I return to the immortal world, all of you will have to submit to me. Zhou Kunlun's reply was very domineering. He didn't agree to anyone's request. He just sat there at the end of the path. He had said that he would protect the people of the world to become immortals. Since he had said it, he would do it. If the immortals in the heavens dared to stop him, he dared to kill them. Immortal ascension? Immortal gate? As long as Zhou Kunlun wanted to, he could enter the immortal world right now. Zhou Kunlun, you have to understand the situation in the lower realm. The power of darkness has already appeared, and the Dark Moon clan is about to be born. The reason why the immortal realm is stopping the beings of the lower realm from ascending is also for the sake of the immortal realm. We're only doing this for the immortal realm. Someone explained, hoping that Zhou Kunlun wouldn't do that. However, Zhou Kunlun didn't say anything. He just sat there at the end of the path. His expression was calm and confident, with his back facing the beings of the lower realm. He was like a bright lamp guiding the people of the world to return. After a few breaths, Zhou Kunlun suddenly spoke. He looked at the human emperor and the demon emperor and said, "Haven't you always wanted to return to the immortal world? Now I'll send you back. Is this true? We'll return to the immortal world just like this." At this moment, the human emperor and the demon emperor hesitated. They were also a little afraid. They knew very well that there were people in the immortal world who didn't want them to return, and there were also people who wanted to kill them. If they returned to the immortal world without anyone's protection, they were destined to die tragically. With me, Zhou Kunlun, around, you can ascend without worry. If they dare to touch a single hair on you, I'll ascend to immortality immediately. Zhou Kunlun said seriously. As soon as he said that, the human emperor and the demon emperor looked at each other and remained silent for a long time. In the end, both of them nodded and didn't say anything else. Then, under everyone's gaze, the two emperors stepped onto the path and finally walked to Zhou Kunlun's side. "Thank you, Senior. Senior, if something really happens to us, please accept this." The two emperors left behind their legacies and passed them to Zhou Kunlun. Then, as if they were going to die, they walked to the end of the path and passed through the gate. At this moment, the two of them finally got their wish and returned to the immortal world. What two emperors? You're nothing but ants in the immortal world. Do you really think Zhou Kunlun can protect you? The moment the two emperors ascended, several cold and murderous voices sounded. At the same time, several explosions sounded in the immortal world. Clearly, someone had attacked the two emperors. I said, "Let them ascend." I said, "I'll kill anyone who dares to touch them." I said, "I can ascend to immortality immediately." At this moment, Zhou Kunlun suddenly stood up and waved his hands fiercely in front of him. It was as if he was tearing the void and tearing open the gate. The world was stunned when they saw the scenery of the immortal world and the emperors of human and demon surrounded by a group of people. But at this moment, Zhou Kunlun's palm broke through the gate. With a push of his palm, the people surrounding the two emperors collapsed and turned into shadows. Since ancient times, who has dared to disobey me? If it weren't for fate, I would have already flattened the immortal world. Zhou Kunlun was so domineering. He was in the lower realm, but it was enough to intimidate the people of the immortal world. Even the immortal kings didn't dare to make a move at this moment. "Zhou Kunlun, if we really want to kill them, you can't protect them." One of the immortal kings said. The threat was very obvious. Zhou Kunlun nodded. He knew that if the immortal kings really made up their minds to kill the two emperors, then he really wouldn't be able to protect them. However, Zhou Kunlun was sure that they wouldn't dare. "You're afraid of me," Zhou Kunlun said contemptuously, but there was a trace of helplessness in his eyes. "Let them go, I cannot ascend. You could be your own immortal kings, and I can live forever in the lower realm." "Umph, how can there be such a good thing? Within 1,000 years, you can't ascend and can't interfere in the affairs of the immortal world. In this way, we can let them go. But after 1,000 years, whether they live or die, you can't interfere." "That's right. We'll give the people from the lower realm 1,000 years." The three great immortal worlds actually gave in, but the conditions were also very harsh. They didn't let Zhou Kunlun return to the immortal world. 1,000 years? That's enough. Zhou Kunlun agreed with a smile and said, "Although the lower realm is the lower realm, the creatures of the lower realm are not weaker than the immortal world. In 1,000 years, I believe they can protect themselves. They can even surpass you." Chapter 1446. The 1,000-year agreement was set just like that. No one made an oath because everyone knew that the words of an immortal king were words. They wouldn't lie. What was 1,000 years in the eyes of an immortal king? It was just a blink of an eye. And in 1,000 years, they definitely wouldn't believe that an immortal king could be born from the lower realm. Moreover, even if the immortal kings didn't make a move, others could. These ascenders might not even be able to live for 1,000 years. Since you guys have set a 1,000-year agreement, then I will set a 2-realm agreement with you guys," Zhou Kunlun said, naturally thinking for the people of the world. He knew very well that even if the immortal kings didn't make a move, there were plenty of immortals in the immortal world. An immortal lord was enough to kill someone who had just ascended. And this 2-realm agreement meant that anyone who was 2 realms higher than the ascenders couldn't make a move. This could be considered a disguised form of protection for the ascenders. Okay. In the end, the immortal sects retired, the immortal kings retreated, and the immortals of the immortal world also returned. Zhou Kunlun didn't move. He still had his back to everyone as he sat at the end of the path to immortality. He wanted to protect the people of the world. "I think that someone like you won't interfere in the matters of the lower realm, right?" At this moment, Yuan Zhua and the Dark Man came. The two of them stood in the distance in fear, staring at Zhou Kunlun. Hearing this, Zhou Kunlun laughed and said, "I only care about the matters of the heavens. I don't care about the matters of the lower realm. Even if the lower realm is destroyed, I won't care." "I hope Senior can do as you say," Yuan Zhua said solemnly. As soon as he finished speaking, Yuan Zhua's gaze suddenly turned cold. He looked at Jiang Chun and said coldly, "You hid the spider lilies in the ancestral realm. Do you really think I don't know?" "So what?" Jiang Chun wasn't afraid at all. After all, as time passed, his cultivation level became higher and higher. Now, he was confident that he could fight Yuan Zhua. "You think you can?" Yuan Zhua said disdainfully. He pointed at himself and said, "You can't beat me. Try?" Jiang Chun raised his eyebrows, not believing Yuan Zhua at all. As for the invincible warrior at the side, he had a look of disdain on his face as he said casually, "If we really fight, I won't be afraid. Hand over the Resurrection Lily clan, and I can guarantee that I won't destroy the 3 major worlds. Otherwise, the 3 big worlds will be annihilated," Yuan Zhu said with a ferocious expression. The ancient world was destroyed. Yuan Zhua's heart was a bit twisted. He couldn't bear to see the other worlds doing well. He wanted to destroy the myriad worlds and bury them with the ancient world. Of course, in the depths of his heart, that wisp of darkness was becoming denser and denser, constantly telling him what he should do, how he should destroy the world. That was the power of the Dark Moon clan, born only for destruction. Fight! At this moment, Jiang Chun was very direct. His aura erupted, and the destiny in the sky descended. His 3 Tao souls appeared, and chaos energy erupted from his body like a waterfall. As his eyes opened and closed, there seemed to be flowing light flowing within them. It was also as if the universe was reversing. Golden lotuses covered the ground beneath his feet, Behind him was an expanse of primal chaos. It was like an ocean that could contain all living things. Interesting, Yuan Ju's eyes narrowed. He really didn't expect Jiang Qin's strength to have reached such a stage. However, to Yuan Ju, this was just a small surprise. In his eyes, the living beings of the lower realm were nothing. Kill! At this moment, Yuan Ju roared. The dark energy in his body erupted and gushed out like a tidal wave. In an instant, Yuan Ju rushed to the front of Jiang Chun. Before Jiang Chun could react, Yuan Ju had grabbed onto his head. Boom! Then, there was a loud explosion. Jiang Chen's head exploded, and his body turned into dust. Luckily, the 3 wisps of chaos energy protected his body. Jiang Chen's soul was pulled out, and he rebuilt his body not far away. What's going on? Stronger than the last time? Jiang Chen was shocked. He was really surprised. The bright sun is in the sky. The dark moon is behind. If the bright sun is not destroyed, how can the dark moon disappear? Yuan Ju chuckled. The dark moon tribe is coming back. I can feel that the dark energy is constantly increasing. I see. Jiang Chun was relieved. Yuan Ju's sudden increase in strength was related to the dark moon tribes coming back. After all, the dark energy originated from the dark moon tribe. With the dark moon tribe's return, the dark energy would naturally become stronger. Senior, he should be one of the 6 seeds that you mentioned, right? If I kill him, you won't mind, right? Yuan Ju looked at Zhou Kunlun. Among the people present, the only one that he was afraid of was Zhou Kunlun. Everyone thought that Zhou Kunlun would protect Jiang Chun. However, Zhou Kunlun closed his eyes and shook his head. His meaning was obvious. He wouldn't interfere with the affairs of the lower realm. Even if his own seed was killed, he wouldn't care. Can you really kill me? Jiang Chun was angry. This was the first time he was looked down upon. Kill? Was it that easy to kill? You must die. At this moment, Yuan Ju rushed out again. Jiang Chun was already prepared. His divine ability exploded, and the energy in his body burned to the extreme. He and Yuan Ju fought fiercely. The fight shook the heavens and the earth, and the void cracked inch by inch. All kinds of laws were colliding, especially Jiang Chen's time law. Once it was used, the people around him seemed to be in a daze and were fixed in place. However, Yuan Ju was too strong. His left hand gathered the dark energy, and his right hand gathered the immortal energy. The 2 forces blended together like the collision of the sun and the moon, and forcefully broke through the time law. In the next moment, he pushed out his palm and sent Jiang Chen's 3 Dao souls into his body. Then, he punched out and sent the 3 strands of chaotic energy back into Jiang Chen's body. Then, Yuan Ju punched again and shattered the dragon and tiger shadows behind Jiang Chun. In the end, Yuan Zhua threw his palm over with a smile. Jiang Chun was suppressed in the void. I told you, you can't beat me, Yuan Ju said contemptuously. He looked at the unrivaled warrior in the distance and said, use the people of the Red Spider Lily clan to exchange for his life. You! The unrivaled warrior's face was gloomy. He knew very well that once Yuan Ju devoured the Red Spider Lily clan, no one in the world would be Yuan Ju's opponent. However, if he didn't hand over the Red Spider Lily clan, Jiang Chun would definitely die. What is this? So cold. Suddenly, there was a burst of cold air. Even Yuan Ju and the others felt a chill on their backs. The space seemed to be frozen, and even the energy in their bodies became sluggish. He's my master and my man. If you want to kill him, you have to ask for my permission. In this world, no one can kill my boss. The only one who can kill him is probably himself. At this moment, in the direction of the ancestral court ruins, immortal light rushed into the sky. A group of people stepped on immortal energy and came over. Chapter 1447. The time realm was shattered. An immortal light soared into the sky like clouds, illuminating the entire greater thousand world. Even the 3 realms of Yin and Yang could see this shocking scene. More than a dozen immortals flew through the air, all of them calling out boss, some of them calling out master, and of course there was no lack of my man. Jiangchen looked at the group of people without any excitement. Instead, he blushed slightly and muttered, "Am I the weakest again? Immortals? How can there be so many earth immortals in the lower realm?" The original seat widened his eyes in disbelief. Even the invincible warrior and the lamp-bearer were dumbfounded. What kind of world is this? What happened to the Greater Thousand World in an era where the Great Tao is not present? How come there are so many Earth Immortals? It's those little guys from the ancestral court. These little guys broke through in the time realm? They became Earth Immortals? After a few breaths, everyone came to their senses, but they were even more shocked. Even though the time realm was different from the outside world, the era was still the same. In this era, it was not easy to become an Earth Immortal. This was not something that could be achieved by accumulating time. It required enough talent, qualifications, and even opportunities. And now, the group of young people from the ancestral court had become Earth Immortals. What kind of followers and disciples did this guy bring with him? Why are they all so abnormal? While everyone was still in shock, the group of people from the ancestral court had arrived. They stood behind Jiang Chun and looked at Jiang Chun, who was suppressed on the ground, with faint smiles on their faces. Jiang Chun blushed slightly and stood up after a few coughs. He glared at them and said, "What are you looking at? Isn't it normal to be suppressed?" Yes. It's normal. Master is just tired, so he's lying on the ground to rest for a while," the crowd said with a smile. They were trying to save face for Jiang Chun. However, there was always a silly guy, such as Jiang Lu, who said at this moment, "Boss, it's okay if you can't beat them. I'll help you take revenge." As soon as this was said, the group of people smiled bitterly, and Jiang Chen's face turned red. "You can do it. Are you the only one who's not blind? Can't others see that I can't beat the original seat? Do you have to say it out loud?" "Jiang Lu, I'll leave this matter to you. My body has been weak recently, so it's not suitable for me to fight." Jiang Chen patted Jiang Lu's shoulder and said, "I'll give you a chance to prove yourself." "Good." Jiang Lu was indeed very naive, but sometimes the things he did surprised people. After nodding solemnly, he raised his arm and shouted, "Brothers, he's very strong. Let's gang up on him." At this moment, not to mention Jiang Chun and the others, even their original seats were a little messy. "What are you guys doing? So many land gods attacking me." "Just you wait." Yuanzi was not stupid. Although his cultivation was far more powerful than Earth God Lu, there was no way he could fight with so many Earth gods at the same time. After all, this was the lower realm, and the source of his power was different from his own. He couldn't use his full strength. "Old man, stop running. You want to run after hitting my boss? It's not that easy." Jiang Lu and the others swarmed toward Yuanzi. Their immortal chi was so violent that it looked like a group of immortals were dancing wildly. In the midst of the violent immortal chi, Jiang Lu and the others were very decisive in their attacks. They threw their hands and feet at Yuanzi. In just half an hour, Yuanzi couldn't take it anymore. His body was almost knocked out, and even his glabella was torn by the immortal chi. "Sacrifice, otherwise we'll all die." Yuanzi was enraged. He stared at the dark man and said, "What are you waiting for? If I die, you won't be able to live either. If we both die, the ancient realm will be extinct." "Yes, Yuanzi." The dark man didn't hesitate at all. Even if he died after the sacrifice, he wouldn't hesitate. Just as Yuanzi said, they were the last two living beings in the ancient realm. If Yuanzi died, he wouldn't be able to live either. By then, the ancient realm would be extinct. Buzz! A tremor came from the dark man's body. Then his entire body burned, turning into rays of divine light, runes, and a black river. All of this poured into Yuanzi's body. Suddenly, there was a loud explosion, and there was even the rumbling of the great Tao. Yuanzi's aura was constantly rising, as if he was about to break through the shackles. His hair was dancing wildly, and when his eyes opened and closed, the sun and moon were annihilated. Retreat. He has surpassed the limits of this plane. Zhou Kunlun sighed. Things are destined. The three worlds will be destroyed. As soon as these words came out, the expressions of Jiang Chun and the others couldn't help but become gloomy. They knew that Zhou Kunlun wouldn't lie to them. Then, what was certain was that Yuan's current strength was already invincible in this plane. No one could stop him. Of course, Zhou Kunlun could definitely suppress Yuan's. But Zhou Kunlun had his own principles. He only cared about the immortals in the heavens and didn't care about the mortals in the lower realm. Senior, you really can't save the three worlds? Jiangchen asked. Everything has an order and rules. Zhou Kunlun sighed and said, perhaps this is fate. If you make a move, the three worlds will be saved. Jiangchen said, what order, what rules, what fate? These are all used to be broken. Many people in the world would agree with Jiangchen's words. But at Zhou Kunlun's cultivation level, he naturally saw more and further. He had long seen a corner of the future, so he was unwilling to make a move. The future is a fog. I don't know black and white. Don't ask about light. This is all I can do. Zhou Kunlun sighed and said, of the 6 seeds, 2 have already ascended. Even if the remaining 4 die, it's fine. Hearing this, Jiang Chun was also quite helpless. 6 seeds, protected for so many eras. In the end, only 2 were chosen? No. Perhaps in Zhou Kunlun's heart, it was fine as long as one of the 6 seeds survived. What are you excited about? You're not one of the 6 seeds. At this moment, Unrivaled Warrior walked over with a dark face and looked at Jiang Chun angrily. The moment he said this, Jiang Chun was stunned. Even the others were dumbfounded. What was going on? At this point, everyone guessed that Jiang Chun was also one of the 6 seeds. But Unrivaled Warrior's words, Junior Lin Wudi greets the Guardian. Unrivaled Warrior looked at Zhou Kunlun, lowered his head, and cupped his hands. Successor disciple of the 10,000 vehicle Immortal Lord, Lin Wudi. So you still remember your identity. I thought you had long forgotten who you were. Zhou Kunlun narrowed his eyes with a faint smile, but there was still a hint of anger in his eyes. How does it feel to be invincible in the lower realm? Is it because you are invincible in the lower realm that you can forget the blood feud with the 10,000 vehicle Immortal Lord? Chapter 1448. Back then, the Rotten One had asked the Unrivaled Warrior if he had been to the Celestial World. The Unrivaled Warrior had given an affirmative answer. Yes. However, they did not expect that not only had the Unrivaled Warrior been to the Celestial World, but he was also one of the 6 seeds of the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect. He had never told anyone about this, not even the Demon Emperor and the others. After Zhou Kunlun appeared, he did not even mention Zhou Kunlun. It was as if he had forgotten the Unrivaled Warrior's identity. Now, the Unrivaled Warrior had revealed his identity. Facing Zhou Kunlun's doubts, the Unrivaled Warrior's expression was rather calm. Because to him, whether it was the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect in the Celestial World, the Ancestral Realm in the Lower Realm, or even the Upper-class World, they were all worthy of his protection. The reason why he had not ascended to the Celestial World was because he was worried about the Ancestral Realm and the Upper-class World. Humans had feelings, and the Unrivaled Warrior was the same. He looked at Zhou Kunlun and sighed. Guardian, if you are willing to help, I will ascend to the Celestial World. I said before, I only care about the immortals in the heavens, not the mortals in the lower realm. Zhou Kunlun said, the matter here is up to you. Boom! While the two of them were talking, the Unrivaled Warrior attacked again. With a push of his palm, Wakako and the others were sent flying. Blood splattered along the way, and Immortal Chi collapsed. There was no doubt that the Unrivaled Warrior was too powerful and had broken through the shackles of the lower realm. His strength could be said to be invincible here. Boss, run. Don't worry about us. At this moment, Wakako and the others were still holding on. They knew that if this continued, they would undoubtedly die, but they were unwilling to retreat. In their eyes, their own life and death did not matter, but the boss in their hearts had to live. This was their belief, and also their belief. Where can I go? If all of you die, what's the point of me living alone? Jiang Chen sighed in his heart and stood in place without moving. He felt very powerless, helpless, and even desperate to the extreme. Facing the unrivaled warrior's terrifying strength, Jiang Chen could not defeat him even if he used all his methods. He could only watch as Wakako and the others bled and fought for their lives. But he could not think of a way. Rise from defeat, new life from despair. Do you want to live on? Suddenly, the drop of essence blood in the depths of Jiang Chen's soul began to burn. Within the blood essence, runes began to jump about, and chains began to slide about. It was as if a door was manifesting. A stalwart man appeared in Jiang Chen's mind, looking at Jiang Chen with a faint smile. Jiang Chen's expression was calm. He communicated with the other party through his consciousness and asked, "How should I survive?" "You are yourself. You don't need to reject anything. Open your heart and accept your inner self. Then you will be able to continue living," the man said softly. When Jiang Chen heard this, he didn't have any thoughts. His mind went blank, and he muttered, "Open your heart and be yourself." Wang. In a few breaths of time, the entire world shook. In a dilapidated mountain range, a coffin soared into the sky, and a corpse broke through the air. As if it was attracted by something, it flew in the direction of the great thousand world. At the same time, on the road to the Yellow Springs, Tianzong and Tianhong smiled at each other, and their bodies turned into specks of light rain. The light rain broke through the realm wall, tore the road to the Yellow Springs, and also flew in the direction of the great thousand world. At the same time, in the ancient netherworld, the moon god looked at a violently shaking bronze coffin in the ancient netherworld, and a smile appeared on her peerless face. She opened the bronze coffin, looked at the man inside, and said softly, "You're finally back." As soon as she finished speaking, the man inside the bronze coffin disappeared. He tore through the void and turned into a stream of light. At this moment, all around Jiang Chen, tens of thousands of spells appeared. Tens of thousands of daos turned into auspicious signs and fell. There were even great daos that were like the sun, the moon, and the stars. The spells gathered, and the rain of light filled the air. A few physical bodies descended and turned into a rain of light that entered Jiang Chen's body. At this moment, the drop of essence blood exploded, and the spells trembled. Memories surged into Jiang Chen's mind like a torrent. His aura continued to soar, and his cultivation continued to break through. Extraordinary, broken road, broken end, until finally, an immortal fate condensed, and all spells returned to one. Boom! At this moment, Jiang Chen opened his eyes. At that moment, the world seemed to have changed. All spells returned to their positions, and all daos appeared together. Myriad transformations. The son of the myriad chariot. The one who inherited the myriad character, immortal fate. That man, he's back. At this moment, not only the lower three realms, but the entire immortal world was alarmed. The older generation of the immortal world knew very well how terrifying the myriad chariot immortal lord was. However, they also knew that the myriad chariot immortal lord was the myriad transformations. His talent and aptitude were rare throughout history, and he was the #1 person in the immortal world during the Three Immortals era. When such a person returned, he would definitely rise with unstoppable momentum. He's back. If he ascends, the immortal world will be in chaos. After 10 reincarnations, he's finally back. In the lower realms, many people sighed and sighed with emotion. Some people even had tears in their eyes. They've been waiting for this day for a long time. Yuanzhua, let go. At this moment, Jiang Chen looked at Yuanzhua. With a wave of his hand, a series of obscure light beams appeared and captured Zhang Lu and the others to his side. Then he pointed his finger again, and the myriad transformations heavenly lamp appeared. A sword ray seemed to fall from the sky and hung upside down on Yuanzhua's head. The sword was dazzling, and the qi was condensed. The sword hung there without falling, but it made Yuan Zhuo extremely frightened. If the sword didn't fall, it was the most fatal. Myriad transformations. Go back to your immortal world. What happened here has nothing to do with you. Yuan's was said in a deep voice. You're originally from the immortal world. Why are you meddling in the affairs of the lower realms? Hearing that, Jiangchen shook his head and said, although I'm from the immortal world, I'm also from the 6 realms, the divine realm of the 9 heavens, the ancestral realm, and the boundless world. Reincarnation is just a kind of comprehension and experience. What's the point of the disputes in the world? A bright flower will eventually wither. Why are you so persistent? So, what if you have the power of darkness? You have your own heart. Why do you have to kill again? As he said that, the Tao light in the myriad transformations heavenly lamp shone like a snow-white dew, drowning Yuan Zhuo. Yuan Zhuo roared angrily. The power of darkness in his body was rioting, but he couldn't break free. I forgot to tell you. I've always been me. My name is Jiangchen. Jiangchen said in a low voice. He glanced at where he had been sitting, then looked at Ruo Xiao and the others with a smile. He touched his nose and coughed softly. He said, I'm still your boss. Boss? Master? Wakako and the others were very excited. They were indeed worried that Jiangchen would change after his return. But now, it seemed that their boss was still the same boss, and their master was still the same master. Even if he had returned, nothing had changed. Chapter 1449. Jiangchen hadn't changed. Their previous worries were unnecessary. After returning, he only had the memories of his previous lives, and at the same time, he had the cultivation of his previous lives. As for his soul and thoughts, they hadn't changed. At this moment, he looked at everyone with a smile. The unruly smile on his face gave people a bad feeling. Scammer. He's still the same? He's always been a scammer. Everyone's heart skipped a beat. If the returned Jiangchen wanted to scam people, how much of a scammer would he be? Myriad transformations. Let me go. At this moment, Yuan Zhuo roared angrily. The dark energy in his body changed, and even his soul was burning with divine flames. He felt that he had lost something, but he couldn't explain it. I'm saving you, Jiangchen said softly. Born in the light, why do you need to use the dark energy? The Dark Moon Clan is born with the dark energy, but you're not. Return. The myriad transformations heavenly lamp kept burning and surrounded Yuan Zhuo. The dark energy in his body was constantly being refined and purified. After a long time, when the flames on Yuan Zhuo's body disappeared, the darkness in his eyes also disappeared. When his eyes opened and closed, they were bright and clear, without a trace of impurities. You've been purified just like me, the lamp-bearer exclaimed. He looked at Yuan Zhuo excitedly and asked, How do you feel? Yuan Zhuo didn't speak. He stood quietly and looked down at the void. That was the plane of the ancient world, his home. Now, the ancient world was destroyed, and everything disappeared. In the whole world, only he and the lamp-bearer were left. He still didn't speak and kept silent. After a long time, Yuan Zhuo raised his head and looked at Jiangchen. He also didn't say a word. The next moment, Yuan Zhuo stood up and stepped on the path of immortality. When he walked to Zhou Kunlun's side, he couldn't help but ask, If I ascend from the lower realm, will you still protect me? Of course. Zhou Kunlun nodded. If I want to destroy the celestial realm, what will you do? Yuan Zhuo asked again. Regardless of life or death, Zhou Kunlun said softly. You want to avenge the ancient world, yes. But if you're killed because of this, I won't avenge you. Enough, Yuan Zhuo said softly. Finally, he walked past Zhou Kunlun and reached the end of the path of immortality. Then, a rain of light covered the sky. The origin seed ascended, taking a step out, entering the immortal realm. Yuan Zhuo, die, you evil remnant of the ancient world. We don't care if he's T, but you. Suddenly, Yuan Zhuo, SS immortals to was, TT, who would have thought that after entering the immortal realm, his cultivation would be completely unsealed. When he was in the lower realm, his cultivation had always been suppressed because of the plane. T is heat his T he. T's his T is S realm. A terrifying aura exploded forth, followed by a series of miserable shrieks, following which the stench of blood wafted out from the gate of immortality. Cheat this aura. What realm is it? Everyone exclaimed. Immortal lords. Zhou Kunlun said softly. His is enough to fight against an immortal king. I don't need to protect him. Even so, Zhou Kunlun still opened his mouth. He looked towards the heaven gate and shouted, "Whatever this old man says, I must keep my word. He ascended from the lower realm, so he's the one I'm going to protect. Don't blame me for being merciless if you dare to attack again." As soon as he said this, the immortal realm immediately quieted down. They knew Zhou Kunlun well. He meant what he said. "'Tis," Zhou Kunlun said. "The power of darkness in his body has been purified. He won't pollute the celestial realm anymore." This time, there was no more sound from the heavenly gate. After a few breaths, Yuan's voice came from the celestial realm. "I've let down the 3 great worlds." Only now did everyone understand that Yuan's had left without saying a word. It wasn't because he didn't want to speak, but because he was embarrassed. After all, he wanted to destroy the 3 great worlds. After the power of darkness in his body was purified, he had returned and remembered what he had done. He didn't have the face to face everyone, so he left without saying a word. Now he was separated by heaven and man, so he had to apologize. "Wait for me in the celestial realm," Jiang Chun said softly. Then he sighed and looked at everyone. It's finally peaceful. But everyone knew that the peace was only temporary. The real journey had just begun. Jiang Chen's return was naturally to the celestial realm. His father, Wan Cheng, was still suppressed under the Kunlun celestial mountain. Back then, the Wan Cheng immortal sect also needed him to restore its glory. His enemies from back then also needed to be dealt with. His old friends also needed to meet and reminisce about the past. The so-called peace was just the peace of the 3 great worlds. "The 9 of you have caused trouble for so many eras. Now that I've returned, don't you have anything to say to me?" At this moment, Jiang Chen looked in the direction of Yang 3 realms. The corners of his mouth curled up slightly, with a trace of evil charm. As his voice fell, 9 beams of light rushed over from Yang 3 realms. They passed by Jiang Chen without even saying goodbye. Then, the 9 beams of light rushed onto the immortal road. Without saying a word, they directly entered the celestial realm. Only after entering the celestial realm did the voices of the 9 great ancient spirits spread. "Myriad transformations. We won't be wrong. You're very powerful. But so what? The celestial realm is vast. If you have the guts, come to the celestial realm and find us. Want us to apologize? Want us to repent? Impossible. Huh?" The 9 great ancient spirits ran away just like that. They were really afraid of the returning Jiang Chun. Now, they could only clamor in the celestial realm. Double quotes, "These guys..." Jiang Chun smiled bitterly. "One day, I'll subdue you." In the end, Jiang Chun brought everyone back to the ruins of the ancestral court. With his current cultivation, rebuilding the ancestral court was only a matter of seconds. "Boss, what's your cultivation now?" Half a day later, in the main hall of the ancestral court, a group of people surrounded Jiang Chun. They were all extremely curious. "Me? My cultivation is still the same as when I first reincarnated," Jiang Chun said softly. "Like you guys, it's the lowest realm after becoming an immortal." "Ah, that's impossible, right?" "If that's the case, then why did you always reincarnate?" Wakako asked in confusion. "Naturally, it's to avoid them." Jiang Chun pointed to the top of his head and said, "After my first reincarnation, Zhou Kunlun also came down, but he was seriously injured at that time and didn't have the ability to protect us. Therefore, I chose to reincarnate to avoid the pursuit of the celestial realm." Double quotes, "Now, Zhou Kunlun has reappeared, and I've also returned. Those guys in the celestial realm should be worried about themselves. Chapter 1450. When the six of them went down to the lower realm, it was only because the 10,000 vehicle immortal lord was suppressed and Zhou Kunlun was seriously injured that they had no choice but to do so. As for Jiang Chun, because of the pursuit of the immortal world, he had no choice but to constantly reincarnate. Now, Zhou Kunlun had recovered to his peak, enough to deter the immortal kings of the immortal world, so Jiang Chun no longer had any scruples. With the agreement made between Zhou Kunlun and the immortal kings of the immortal world, he had plenty of opportunities to grow in these 1,000 years. After these few great upheavals, the great 1,000 world has been damaged. You guys stay here to rebuild the great 1,000 world and lift the curse of the ancestral realm. I'll go to the immortal world to explore. In the end, Jiang Chun gave a lot of instructions and even brought back everyone on the Yellow Springs Road. 10 days later, under the gaze of the three worlds, Jiang Chun stepped forward and finally stepped onto the immortal road. Along the way, when he came to Zhou Kunlun's side, Jiang Chun nodded slightly and asked, "Are you protecting the 10,000 vehicle immortal sect or the creatures of the lower realm?" "It's the same," Zhou Kunlun said. "Of course, in my heart, the 6 seeds are nothing. You are the key." "Oh, so you've been waiting for my return?" Jiang Chun asked. "I've been waiting for you," Zhou Kunlun said softly, staring at Jiang Chun with burning eyes. After a few breaths, he slowly spat out 2 words, "Young master." "It's enough to have your heart. In 1,000 years, no one knows who will rise. Perhaps the immortal world will change because of me," Jiang Chun said. With that, Jiang Chun continued to move forward, with his back facing Zhou Kunlun. "You are the gatekeeper of the Kunlun Immortal Mountain, but my father is suppressed in the Kunlun Immortal Mountain. In the future, if I become an enemy of the Kunlun Immortal Mountain, what will you do? Since you can guard the door, you can naturally destroy it," Zhou Kunlun said. Jiang Chun heard this and nodded. He didn't say anything more and didn't ask anything, because Zhou Kunlun's words were enough. In the end, Jiang Chun took a step and came to the end of the immortal road. The celestial gate opened, and a ray of light flashed like a vortex. At the same time, Jiang Chun's figure disappeared from everyone's sight. Boss has finally ascended. That's not called ascension. It's called returning. Now that boss has returned, do you think those people in the celestial realm will have a headache? After all, boss has always been such a troublemaker. Jiang Chun, Wakako, and the others gathered together. They weren't worried about Jiang Chun at all. Instead, they were worried about those who had a grudge against him in the immortal world. In their eyes, Jiang Chun was still Jiang Chun. He was still that boss who could sweep through all 4 directions and suppress all eternity. Myriad transformations. After Jiang Chun entered the immortal realm, he was greeted by a majestic mountain range. Around the mountain range, immortal chi rose and drifted like white fog. Beneath his feet was an altar. This altar was the celestial gate that connected to the lower realm. The moment he walked out of the altar, exclamations sounded one after another. Some people even revealed killing intent. Some killing intent even turned into tangible rays of light, like sharp swords and blades. The corners of Jiang Chun's mouth curled up slightly, and he looked around. When he saw those unfamiliar faces, Jiang Chun couldn't help but be taken aback, and he asked, "Aren't the 3 great immortal kings' disciples here?" After saying that, Jiang Chun shook his head in disappointment and sighed. In this era, the 3 immortal kings' sects have declined. Myriad transformations. Don't think that you can be so arrogant with Zhou Kunlun backing you. You only have 1,000 years. Back then, the fate of the 10,000 Mounts immortal sect will be your fate. In the end, you will be suppressed and even killed like your father, 10,000 Mounts. Around him, many people were angrily rebuking. Some of their words were very unpleasant. "Everyone, I am just an immortal with the lowest cultivation in the immortal realm." Jiang Chun chuckled. "Within 2 realms, You can attack me as you wish." As soon as these words came out, a few people immediately rushed over and stopped 100 meters away from Jiang Chun. They sized up Jiang Chun. "Are you sure? We won't bully you either. One-on-one, if you win, you can leave here today. If you lose, you will leave your life here." These young people were aggressive. The meaning of their words was clearly to kill Jiang Chun. "Oh, just a few true immortals. Can you kill me?" Jiang Chun joked. The realms in the immortal realm started from the lowest immortal. Above that was true immortal, golden immortal, heaven immortal, divine immortal, immortal prime, immortal monarch, immortal king, and even immortal emperor. In the history of the immortal realm, there was only one immortal emperor, but he had disappeared for several eras. Now, immortal king was the strongest realm in the immortal realm. For any cultivator, the gap of one realm was like a chasm that was difficult to cross. Even a genius might not be able to do it. Now, Jiang Chun had just returned. These people really couldn't figure out what qualifications did Jiang Chun have to challenge a true immortal. 10,000 transformations. You were indeed very strong, and your talent was known as rare, but now, you have just returned. A mere immortal dares to challenge us? If you dare to accept the challenge, we will kill you today. Several true immortals were clamoring, and their words were very unpleasant. Especially one of them, a young man who claimed to be a disciple of the 10,000 Arts sect. With an arrogant look, he hooked his little finger at Jiang Chun and said, "Come here, accept your death." 10,000 Arts sect? The sect of the 10,000 Arts immortal king? Jiang Chun raised his eyebrows and jokingly said, "Just as well. I have just returned today and need to make an example out of you. You are the most suitable. Arrogant. I am a true immortal, and you are just—" The young man was still clamoring, but before he could finish his words, he saw a bright sword light cut across the sky. Under the sword light, blood sprayed out. The young man from the 10,000 Arts sect widened his eyes, and his throat made a sound, but he couldn't say a word. Plop! After a few breaths, the young man's head was separated from his body. When his head fell to the ground, the sound of it was extremely harsh. "So, what if you are an immortal? Today, within the two realms, whoever dares to make a move, I will kill them all." Jiang Chun's eyes flashed coldly. He knew that many of the people around him were from the three immortal kings' sects. At that time, the main culprits who persecuted the 10,000 Mounts immortal sect were the three immortal kings. Interesting. Suddenly, a breeze blew, and the white clouds in the vast sky dissipated. A young man holding a white folding fan, riding a giant golden bird, landed in the distance. His face was like a spring breeze, very gentle, but there was a trace of coldness and killing intent in the depths of his eyes, which made people feel cold. "Now, what should I call you? 10,000 transformations? Or Jiang Chun?" The young man asked with a smile. He opened his folding fan, and the word June was written on it. "It's Jun Xiong, the #1 disciple of the 10,000 Arts sect, 34th on the human list of the northern region. Jun Xiong." Exclamations sounded from all around, and the identity of this person was revealed. Chapter 1451. The immortal domain was vast and boundless, and the known world only occupied 1/10 of the total area of the immortal domain. However, even if it was only 1/10, it was still much larger than the other worlds. In the immortal domain, it was harder than ascending to heaven to be able to squeeze into the ranking list in a region. The vast immortal domain was currently divided into 4 major regions, and the northern region was one of them. In the northern region, the younger generation was competing for the human list. Any young person who could enter the human list was a well-known figure, and any one of them was enough to cause a sensation. Now, Jun Xiong had appeared, and this was the 34th powerhouse in the northern region. The northern region was vast, with hundreds of millions of creatures and immortals everywhere. To be able to enter the top 50 of the human list in the northern region, this strength was enough to show disdain. What's more, this Jun Xiong came from the 10,000 Arts sect, one of the top 10 sects in the northern region. With a strong foundation, powerful strength, an extraordinary talent. In the eyes of everyone, Jun Xiong was a perfect existence. Now, he had come, and his target was Jiangchun, 10,000 Arts sect, one of the top 10 sects in the northern region. Jiangchun whispered, nodded with a smile, and said, when my 10,000 creation sect was still around, the 10,000 Art sect was a subsidiary sect of my 10,000 creation sect. After the 10,000 creation sect declined, the 10,000 Arts sect sought refuge under the Kunlun Immortal Mountain. Later, because Zhou Kunlun no longer guarded the Kunlun Immortal Mountain, the strength of the Kunlun Immortal Mountain was greatly reduced, and the 10,000 Arts sect sought refuge under Immortal King Xianjun. You guys are really slaves of 3 surnames. Speaking until here, Jiang Chun smiled again, with a trace of evil charm and contempt, and said, a servant of the past, now you dare to be arrogant in front of your master. Jun Xiong, who had a smile on his face, after hearing these words, his face turned gloomy. The folding fan in his hand waved faster and faster. His expression was gloomy, and the killing intent in his eyes skyrocketed. In fact, the entire immortal domain knew that the reason why the 10,000 Arts sect had today's strength and status was because of this slave of 3 surnames. After changing 3 masters and accumulating enough foundation, they were able to establish themselves in the northern region and become one of the top 10 sects in the northern region. However, although the status of the 10,000 Arts sect was high now, if anyone were to say that they were slaves of 3 surnames, the entire 10,000 Arts sect would explode. What's more, Jiangchun said it in front of everyone. What's more, Jiangchun was the young master of the 10,000 Creations Immortal sect, as well as the #1 master of the 10,000 Arts sect. Now, a servant was shouting in front of his master. What was this? Strength is everything. So, what if it's myriad transformations? The 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect is long gone, and the 10,000 mounts are suppressed under the Kunlun Immortal Mountain. You are nothing now, Jun Xiong said in a deep voice. Today, I will kill you and break the 10,000 mounts Immortal sect's roots. You can try, Jiangchun said softly. His expression was calm, but there were wisps of wind and fire floating around him. Facing his former servant, Jiangchun didn't give him any face. What's more, the other party wanted to devour their master. I came today not to fight with you. After all, you are not my opponent. With my status and strength, fighting with you is really a loss of face, Jun Xiong said disdainfully. Today, I just came to see how far you, the former young master of the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect, have fallen. Oh? Jiangchun raised his eyebrows and said with a bit of ridicule and contempt, you said you won't fight, so I won't fight? Have you asked for my opinion? Boom! The moment his voice fell, Jiangchun rushed out, the immortal qi in his body surging. With a wave of his hand, 3 streaks of chaotic qi rushed out like sharp blades. His speed was extremely fast, far faster than ordinary immortals. Especially the 3 streaks of chaotic qi. They shocked everyone. Jun Xiong was also stunned. He didn't expect Jiangchun to take the initiative to attack. While he was in a daze, a strand of chaotic energy pierced through his chest, causing blood to splatter everywhere. Then the 2nd streak of chaotic qi fell like a sharp blade and cut off his limbs. Finally, the 3rd streak of chaotic qi fell like a mountain-splitting axe and cut open the top of Jun Xiong's head. If not for a ray of immortal light at the last moment, protecting Jun Xiong's divine soul, the genius ranked 34th on the human list of the North region would have died here today. Boy, don't go too far. How dare you hurt the genius of the 10,000 Arts sect? At this moment, a middle-aged man appeared. His aura was very powerful, far surpassing the 2 realms. He was also a member of the 10,000 Arts sect, Jun Xiong's guardian. He couldn't watch Jun Xiong be killed. Such a genius was the hope of the 10,000 Arts sect, and they couldn't allow anything to happen to him. Oh, surpassing the 2 realms? At this moment, Jiangchun smiled. He was very happy. He pointed at his feet and said, there are people watching down there. Zhou Kunlun. If he dares to come to the immortal realm, the 10,000 Arts sect will definitely kill him. The man's tone was very arrogant. However, as soon as he finished speaking, the wind and clouds in this area suddenly changed, and a celestial king appeared, standing in the distance, indifferent and silent. At the same time, in the mortal realm, Zhou Kunlun opened his eyes, looked up at the immortal gate, and whispered, "Even Celestial King Xian Jun doesn't dare to say this. Who do you think you are?" Boom! As soon as he finished speaking, a finger easily passed through the immortal gate, like a beam of light, and fell on the body of the man from the 10,000 Arts sect. Then, the man exploded, and his body was directly destroyed. The matter of the 10,000 Arts sect has nothing to do with me, Celestial King Xian Jun. At this moment, the manifested Celestial King spoke, and disappeared after saying this. Obviously, facing Zhou Kunlun, even a Celestial King didn't dare to provoke him. Celestial King Xianjun was also worried that if Zhou Kunlun was angry and broke the 1,000-year promise, then the first one to find him would be Celestial King Xianjun. For his own sake, what was the point of abandoning the 10,000 Arts sect? In the eyes of an Celestial King, even a top sect that had been passed down for several generations was not as important as his own interests. This Celestial King Xian Jun admitted defeat? Is Zhou Kunlun really so terrifying? Even a Celestial King doesn't dare to fight him? Exclamations sounded all around, especially Jun Xiong, whose face was pale at this moment. He knew that because of him, Celestial King Xianjun had abandoned the 10,000 Arts sect. Without the support of Celestial King Xianjun, no matter how deep the foundation of the 10,000 Arts sect was, it would be difficult for them to squeeze into the top 10 in the northern region. And those mortal enemies of the 10,000 Arts sect, after learning about this matter, would definitely come to their door. The decline of the 10,000 Arts sect was only a matter of time. A slave of 3 surnames is just a lackey in other people's eyes, Jiangchen said in a mocking tone. Now, you should think about what you should do in the future. Do you think that the 10,000 Arts sect will still accept you? Hearing this, Jun Xiong completely panicked. His eyes were filled with fear, which quickly turned into anger. In his heart, if it weren't for Jiang Chun, how could Celestial King Xianjun abandon the 10,000 Arts sect? And how could he, Jun Xiong, end up like this? I'm going to kill you. Jun Xiong roared. His immortal power erupted, and a white bead appeared behind him. Chapter 1452. I am Jun Xiong, rank 34th on the human roll of the North region. I am the top disciple of the 10,000 Arts sect. I will not be defeated. I will reverse the situation. Jun Xiong was enraged, and his mind was not clear. Behind him, a white pearl appeared. It was covered with mysterious patterns that looked like an eye. With the appearance of the pearl, Jun Xiong's aura suddenly increased. Lightning surrounded him like a dragon. He rushed out like a ray of light and rushed to Jiang Chen's side in the blink of an eye. He threw his fist over. The fist radiance was surrounded by runes. Accompanied by thunder, it was aimed at the center of Jiang Chen's eyebrows. You were defeated before. Do you think you can win against me now? Jiang Chen said disdainfully. The 3 strands of chaotic aura returned. One turned into a shield, one turned into a sword, and one turned into a long saber. The shield blocked Jun Xiong's attack, but the moment the sword and saber attacked, Jun Xiong seemed to have sensed it and dodged. This is the immortal jade. Heavenly Eye. All your attacks are in my eyes. Jun Xiong laughed maniacally. The immortal jade was something that was born after one became a perfected immortal. Every immortal jade had its own special ability. For example, Jun Xiong's immortal jade had its own heavenly eye that could see through all the opponent's attacks. Oh, immortal jade? Jiang Chen said softly. He mocked himself in his heart. After 10 reincarnations, he had forgotten about this. The difference between an immortal and a perfected immortal is the immortal jade. You are dead, Jun Xiong said coldly. He did not attack immediately, as if he was playing with a monkey. He wanted to tease Jiang Chun and humiliate Jiang Chun in front of everyone. The anger in his heart had already twisted Jun Xiong. You seem to have forgotten that you and I are not from the same era. Jiang Qin smiled. Jun Xiong seemed to have a bad premonition. His expression changed, and the lightning on his body descended. He quickly attacked. However, at this moment, the million-change heavenly lamp appeared. The lamp burned, and the flame turned into a purple, immortal jade. Following the appearance of this purple, immortal jade, everything in the surroundings seemed to have stopped. The lightning that descended from the sky actually vanished into thin air. At the same time, even the immortal force within Jun Xiong's body dissipated. At this moment, Jun Xiong had turned into a mortal. In my era, no one in my generation had the nerve to compete with me in the magical power of the immortal jade, Jiang Qin said sarcastically. I forgot to tell you that I already had the immortal jade when I was an immortal. Boom! Just then, Jiang Qin pushed forward with his palm. Flames danced, and the silhouette of the dragon and tiger roared. He directly tore the Jun Xiong apart and turned it into dust that dissipated with the wind. Myriad Transformations Heavenly Lamp. This is Immortal Fine Jade, Myriad Transformations. I once heard that, in that era, he was the #1 person of the younger generation. If it wasn't for the sudden change in the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect, he would have long been an immortal king. It was only at this moment that the surrounding people remembered that Jiang Qin was not from the same era as them. It was also at this moment that many people remembered that Jiang Qin in that era was too powerful. Before reaching the true immortal realm, he already had the immortal exquisite jade. Now, although Jiang Qin's cultivation was only an immortal, his foundation and strength were absolutely incomparable to ordinary people. Jun Xiong of the 10,000 Arts sect also committed a sin. He dared to come out and fight without investigating Jiang Qin's background. Now, he's dead, and the 10,000 Arts sect has been abandoned by immortal King Xianjun. Hey, it's a good thing for us. In the future, the 10,000 Arts sect will be nothing in the North region. Around them, there were many geniuses from the North region. At this moment, they did not have any killing intent toward Jiang Qin. They reported this matter to their superiors, and the elders of their respective sects also snickered. The Kunlun Immortal sect invites the young master to return. Suddenly, a white crane came from afar. There was a white-haired old man on the white crane. His voice was loud and clear, and the runes of great Tao flashed around him. He came directly in front of Jiang Qin. His expression and attitude were not respectful, and there was even a trace of contempt in his eyes. What does the Kunlun Immortal sect mean? They suppressed the 10,000 Mounts Immortal Master, and now they want Jiang Qin to go to the Kunlun Immortal sect? Isn't that sending him to his death? Keep your voice down. That matter was very complicated. Although the 10,000 Mounts Immortal Master was suppressed under the Kunlun Immortal sect, it is said that his relationship with the Kunlun Immortal sect is still good. Around them, several elders whispered and warned the young people around them that it was better not to mention anything about the 10,000 Mounts Immortal Master and the Kunlun Immortal sect. At this moment, Jiang Qin looked calm, but the memory in his mind was recovering. Recalling the past, Jiang Qin was silent. After a long time, when the white-haired old man's face showed impatience, Jiang Qin asked, "Who asked you to come?" Naturally, it was the Mountain Master, the white-haired old man said. "Which Mountain Master?" Jiang Qin continued to ask, frowning. His eyes were cold, and he said, "The 9 mountains of the Kunlun Immortal sect." "The 9 Mountain Masters. What are you talking about?" "The first Mountain Master." The white-haired old man raised an eyebrow and said, "The first Mountain Master asked you to go back. So you go back. And if I don't?" Jiang Qin asked. Jiang Qin knew very well that with Zhou Kunlun around, no matter how strong this old man was, he would not dare to do anything to him. However, Jiang Qin knew even more clearly that if he went to the Kunlun Immortal sect, it would be a mixed blessing, especially the first Mountain Master. If Jiang Qin remembered correctly, the person who had decided to suppress the 10,000 mounts was the first Mountain Master of the Kunlun Immortal sect. Back then, It was because of this that Zhou Kunlun and the first mountain master of the Kunlun immortal sect had fallen out. What about the 10th mountain master? Without waiting for the old man to speak, Jiang Chun continued to ask. When these words came out, the surrounding people were a little confused. Just now you said that there were only 9 mountains in the Kunlun immortal sect. Then what about the 10th mountain master? Could it be that there was another mountain in the Kunlun immortal sect? That can't be. Everyone in the immortal world knows that there are only 9 mountains in the Kunlun immortal sect. Is this kid confused after reincarnating? Where did the 10th mountain come from? However, the white-haired old man's expression turned serious. His voice was slightly cold, and he said, "Don't mention this. Since the 10th mountain master is not here, then I will not go to the Kunlun immortal sect," Jiang Chun said softly. He puffed out his chest and said, "Unless you take me away by force. I don't dare to take you away by force in front of the mountain guards, but you have to know, the Kunlun immortal sect will not harm you," the white-haired old man said. "It's up to you whether you go or not. However, your father can't hold on much longer. You'd better go and see him." "You are threatening me?" Jiang Chen's expression turned cold, and his eyes were filled with murderous intent. However, Jiang Chun reacted quickly. Perhaps the old man was telling the truth and was not threatening him. This was because the 10,000 Mounts immortal sect had been suppressed for several generations. The essence, chi, and spirit in his body had been flowing away. Based on the lifespan of the immortal sect, his father did not have much longer to live. Chapter 1453. How powerful was the Wancheng immortal lord? He had ruled 1/10 of the known world of the immortal realm. However, even such a person would find it difficult to live forever after being suppressed. As time passed, the Wancheng immortal lord would become weaker and weaker until he died. At this moment, Jiang Chun fell silent. He knew very well that once he went to Kunlun Mountain, he would be under house arrest. But if he did not go, he might not be able to see his father. Filial piety is the most important, Jiang Chun said softly. He looked at the white-haired old man with burning eyes and said, "I will go back to Kunlun Mountain with you. Please." The white-haired old man waved his hand and gestured for Jiang Chun to sit on the back of the white crane. Jiang Chun did not refuse. But when he stood on the back of the white crane shook violently, and a terrifying immortal chi burst out. Its cultivation level was at the 9th level of the true immortal realm. Evil beast is evil beast. Even your master has to call me young master. What are you? Jiang Chen's eyes narrowed, and a cold light flashed in his eyes. He stomped his foot. Boom! Even a 9th level true immortal realm cultivator would not be able to withstand this heavy stomp. With a loud explosion, the white crane lay on the ground. A footprint appeared on its back, penetrating its back so deep that the bone could be seen. "It is not sensible. Young master, please don't blame it." The white-haired old man hurriedly stopped him. His words were polite, but his heart was bleeding. This was an immortal crane with the bloodline of the ancient immortal bird. It was one of the few immortal beasts in Kunlun Mountain. Usually, this immortal crane was the treasure of Kunlun Mountain. If not for the fact that they were here to pick up Jiang Chun, they would not have needed it. But now, Jiang Chen's stomp almost crippled this white crane. Screech! At this moment, the white crane let out a long shriek. Its white feathers turned into sharp blades, and they flew towards Jiang Chun in the opposite direction. At this moment, panic appeared in the white-haired old man's eyes. Jiang Chen's eyes were burning with anger. "Beasts are beasts," Jiang Chen said coldly. His fist smashed down, and the fist light turned into a strong wind, dispersing the sharp feathers in the surroundings. Then his fist smashed into the white crane's head. Puff! With a muffled sound, the white crane's head exploded, and even its soul shattered. It died on the spot. "You!" The white-haired old man widened his eyes and clenched his fists tightly. Veins popped out on his forehead. An immortal crane with the bloodline of an ancient immortal bird died, just like that. This was a great loss for the Kunlun Celestial Mountain. "They're just beasts. They don't know any better. They'll be a disaster if they're left alive. Jiangchen said softly. That's the end of those who don't know how to respect their seniors. What do you think? As soon as these words came out, the white-haired old man's mouth twitched. He knew very well that Jiangchen was hinting at him. The white-haired old man's cultivation was enough to kill Jiangchen with a single slap. However, he also knew that once he attacked, he would not even have the chance to kill Jiangchen. Zhou Kunlun would definitely kill him first. Return to the Kunlun celestial mountain. As for this immortal crane, you can explain it to the first mountain master yourself, the white-haired old man said in a low voice. Explain? What is he? He's just a mountain master. Jiangchen curled his lips, his eyes full of contempt. Back then, when Wan Cheng and Zhou Kunlun were still around, what was the first mountain master? In front of them, he did not even dare to fart. Now, when the tiger was gone, the monkey was king. You have to know one thing. I'll always be the young master of the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect, and Zhou Kunlun will always be the guardian of the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect. Jiang Chun said coldly, Don't use the first mountain master to scare me. If the 10th mountain master is still around, he's really nothing. After saying that, Jiang Chun frowned as if he thought of something. Then he suddenly laughed and said, With the 9th mountain master around, the first mountain master is still nothing. You! Don't be too presumptuous. The white-haired old man scolded angrily. However, he did not continue speaking. Instead, he flew in the direction of the Kunlun celestial mountain without looking back. Jiang Chun did not continue speaking. He followed behind the white-haired old man and walked slowly. The people around wanted to stop them, but they all knew that with the white-haired old man around, no one could stop them. Moreover, there was Zhou Kunlun outside the immortal sect. This guy is a little fierce. Good boy. If we let him grow, will we still have a share in this world? Many of the young people around were furious and felt helpless. With the power of an immortal, he killed Jun Xiong, a perfected immortal who was ranked 34th on the North Region human list. That alone was enough to show disdain for those of the same generation. The Divine Secret Pavilion has updated the human list. Jiang Chun is ranked 30th on the list. Half a day later, the North Region was shaken. The Divine Secret Pavilion updated the list. Jun Xiong's name disappeared, and Jiang Chun was on the list. Moreover, Jiang Chun was the only one on the human list who was at the immortal realm. With the cultivation of an immortal, he's ranked 30th on the North Region human list. This guy. Did the Divine Secret Pavilion make a mistake? At that moment, Jiang Chun was still walking slowly behind the white-haired old man. The white-haired old man was getting impatient. He kept turning back to look at Jiang Chun. After several urging, Jiang Chun continued walking slowly, as if he did not hear him. Can you hurry up? The first mountain master is still waiting for you, the white-haired old man said. Your Majesty is not in a hurry, but the eunuch is. If you're in a hurry, go back first, Jiang Chun said jokingly. Otherwise, I'll just look at the scenery along the way. After all, I've left the immortal world for many years. Then take a few more looks. I'm afraid that after you enter the Kunlun celestial mountain, you won't be able to see the scenery outside. The white-haired old man said, Oh? Are they so direct now? If they want to put me under house arrest, they won't tiptoe around? Jiang Chun said jokingly, I can stay in the Kunlun celestial mountain. I'm just afraid that the Kunlun celestial mountain won't dare to keep me. The white-haired old man snorted coldly. He did not want to say anything more. He was really afraid that Jiang Chun would anger him to death. Then, the two of them continued walking without saying anything. While the two of them were heading towards the Kunlun celestial mountain, the 9 mountain masters were standing on the peaks of the 9 peaks of the Kunlun celestial mountain. They looked into the distance. They had already crossed thousands of miles and saw Jiang Chun. He's back. Yes, the 3 immortal kings won't sit by and do nothing. Should the Kunlun celestial mountain protect him? Protection? Why don't we put him under house arrest? He's not a good person, just like his father. The 9 mountain masters communicated across the air. Each of them had a different attitude towards Jiang Chun. Let him stay in my ninth mountain. At that moment, an illusory voice sounded. It was impossible to tell if the voice was male or female. This voice came from the ninth mountain master. He was also the most mysterious of the 9 mountain masters. Legend had it that the ninth mountain master and the mysterious 10th mountain master had a very deep relationship. They might be master and disciple, or they might be father and son. However, one thing was certain. Every time the ninth mountain master spoke, the other mountain masters would choose to remain silent and avoid him. Chapter 1454. Kunlun Celestial Mountain was a famous sect in the celestial world. It had been very powerful since ancient times, and its foundation was unfathomable. Each of the 9 peaks of Kunlun Celestial Mountain had thousands of disciples. Especially the first peak, there were 3,000 disciples. Today, all the disciples and elders of the 9 peaks had appeared. They stood at the foot of the mountain. In front of them was a road that connected the 9 peaks and led to the gate of Kunlun Celestial Mountain. Is that the son of the 10,000 creation celestial lord, Wanhua? Why is he the young master of Kunlun Celestial Mountain? Isn't he the young master of the 10,000 creation celestial sect? I wonder how strong he is. Even if he is the young master, if he is not strong enough, I am afraid it will be difficult for him to establish himself in Kunlun Celestial Mountain. The disciples were very curious about this young master that they had never met before. Some were guessing Jiang Chen's appearance, and some were guessing Jiang Chen's strength. Some people even said they wanted to have a fight with Jiang Chen. He's here. Eh? Where's the crane? Suddenly, the noise at the foot of the 9 peaks became louder. Because at the gate of Kunlun Celestial Mountain, an old man and a young man had stepped in. Needless to say, the old man was naturally the one who went to pick up Jiang Chen. As for the young man, it was Jiang Chen. Oh, it seems that you all welcome me. So many people are waiting. Jiang Chen chuckled. Whether you are welcome or not, you will know yourself, the white-haired old man said coldly. He is Wanhua? Now he is called Jiang Chen? I heard that he is very powerful in the lower realm. This strength, how can he only be an immortal? At this moment, the noise was even louder. Some people even showed contempt in their eyes. The 9 peaks of Kunlun Celestial Mountain had more than 10,000 disciples, but none of them were immortals. This level of cultivation was really too weak. Jiang Chen did not care about this. He stood at the gate with a smile and said softly, "Which mountain should I go to?" "Of course, the first mountain," the white-haired old man said in a deep voice. "The master of the first mountain asked me to pick you up. Of course, you will go to the first mountain." However, right after he finished saying those words, a blurry silhouette appeared on the 9th mountain. Then, an ethereal voice that could not be identified as male or female sounded. "He has come to the 9th mountain. This the lord of the 9th mountain. The lord of the first mountain wants him to go to the first mountain." The white-haired old man's expression turned ugly, but he did not dare to say anything else. After all, everyone in the Kunlun Celestial Mountain knew that once the 9th mountain lord spoke, everything was set in stone and could not be changed. Do I need the first mountain lord's approval? The 9th mountain lord countered with a question of his own. His attitude was not overbearing, but it was clear to everyone that he, the 9th mountain lord, did not need to ask anyone for their opinion, including the current first mountain lord. At this moment, the white-haired old man was in a difficult position. After all, he was the one who had brought Jiang Chen back. Therefore, he had to bring Jiang Chen to the first mountain. However, in front of the 9th mountain lord, he truly did not dare to breathe too loudly. He did not even dare to speak. Just like that, the white-haired old man fell silent. However, he still held on to Jiang Chen with one hand, not allowing him to leave. Jiang Chen shrugged with a smile and teased, "What? Is there any point in holding on to me? The first mountain lord will be here soon. Let's wait for the first mountain lord to arrive first," the white-haired old man said coldly. However, before the first mountain lord could arrive, a woman in green robes flew over from the 9th mountain. She was like a fairy, untainted by dust and unworldly. Her appearance could not be said to be peerless, but it was very pleasing to the eye. Once one's gaze fell on her, it was difficult to look away. This was especially true for the woman in green's waist. One could simply grab it. "Marshal Granduncle, the Ninth Mountain Lord has asked me to come and fetch you." After a few breaths, the woman in green arrived beside Jiang Chun. After bowing her head, she smiled gently and gestured for him to leave. As she did so, she glanced at the white-haired old man. When she saw that the white-haired old man was still holding on to Jiang Chun, her face instantly darkened. "Little Jian, if you don't let go, I'm afraid you'll lose your hand," the woman in green said. From his appearance, it was obvious that the white-haired old man was much older. However, the woman in green addressed him as Little Jian. There was no need to think too much about the reason. It was naturally because of his strength. "Qing Mu, don't think that you can speak to me like that just because you have the Ninth Mountain Lord's protection. I'm an elder of the First Mountain," Little Jian said in a deep voice. His real name was Jian Yun. "I have the Ninth Mountain Lord's protection." "What's wrong?" Qing Mu smiled. Suddenly, she turned around and looked at the Ninth Mountain. "Master, with your protection, can I do whatever I want in Kunlun, Celestial Mountain? If your leg isn't broken, you can do whatever you want." The Ninth Mountain Lord's voice came from the Ninth Mountain. At this moment, Jian Yun's face turned pale, while the smile on Qing Mu's face widened. "Jian Yun, since Old Ninth wants him, give him to him. We're all from Kunlun, Celestial Mountain. It doesn't matter where he lives." At this moment, a rather majestic voice came from the First Mountain. Obviously, it was the voice of the First Mountain Lord. At this moment, Jian Yun let go of his hand and glared at Jiang Chun, who was smiling faintly. "You won't be able to walk out of Kunlun, Celestial Mountain. I don't want to leave, but I'm afraid that you won't dare to stay." The corners of Jiang Chun's mouth curled up slightly as he said meaningfully. Then, Jiang Chun took a step forward. When he walked to Qing Mu's side, Jiang Chun tilted his head and frowned slightly. He asked, "Why did you call me Grand Uncle Master?" "Master said that your seniority is higher than mine." Qing Mu said respectfully, "Master also said that I will take care of Grand Uncle Master from now on. No matter what request you make, I will agree." At this point, a wisp of crimson actually appeared on Qing Mu's fair and tender face. This also stunned Jiang Chun for a moment. Then he looked at the Ninth Mountain and looked at the shadow. He muttered, "I haven't seen you for a few generations, but you're still so good at causing trouble. Won't you be jealous?" In the end, under Qing Mu's lead, Jiang Chun arrived at the foot of the Ninth Mountain. Jiang Chun originally thought that he could live at the peak of the mountain. However, Qing Mu told him that the Ninth Mountain Lord had said that there were no more seats at the peak of the mountain. He could only live at the foot of the mountain. Moreover, he had to live with a group of outer sect disciples. This made Jiang Chun somewhat speechless. He looked at Qing Mu meaningfully and asked, "When did she say that?" "When you were whispering just now, Master sent a voice transmission over. She didn't want you to go up to the peak of the mountain," Qing Mu said with a smile. This time, Jiang Chun was somewhat speechless. He glared at the shadow on the peak of the mountain and said, "You did it yourself, so you're jealous. Why are you blaming me?" After saying that, Jiang Chun smiled evilly and sized up Qing Mu from head to toe. He said, "You've come all the way here and are travel-worn. Come and help me bathe and change my clothes." As soon as these words were spoken, Qing Mu's face turned red again. However, before she could speak, the shadow on the Ninth Mountain directly said, "How dare you?" Chapter 1455. Jiang Chun didn't know whether to laugh or cry when he heard the words, "How dare you?" He glanced at the peak of the mountain and chuckled. "Then I'll live at the foot of the mountain. Come up here." However, to everyone's surprise, the Ninth Mountain Lord spoke again with a hint of anger. "What's so good about the foot of the mountain? How difficult?" Jiang Chun's lips curled into a devilish smile as he said, "You're exactly the same as before. You really know how to cause trouble." Then Jiang Chun started to walk along the mountain path, as if he was familiar with the place. He walked all the way to the peak. Qingmu followed behind him, blinking her beautiful eyes. She was extremely curious about this young master who had just arrived. She knew very well that her master usually didn't speak. It could be said that she cherished her words like gold. Now, in one day, not only did she say a few words, she even did it in front of the entire Kunlun Immortal Mountain. This was a little strange. Could it be that master and he? Qingmu's expression became strange. She thought of her master's icy face that would not melt for 10,000 years. Although she was indeed devastatingly beautiful, who would like that icy face? It looked very cold. From now on, you will live here. Other than the 9th mountain, you are not allowed to go anywhere. When Jiangchen arrived at the peak of the mountain, the 9th mountain lord had already disappeared. However, she still left behind a sentence. These words were naturally to remind Jiangchen that she could protect him in the 9th mountain, but it was hard to say once he left the 9th mountain. After all, it was easy to dodge an open spear, but hard to defend against a hidden arrow. The 9th mountain still hasn't changed. This mountain peak that has been flattened, Jiangchen's expression was strange as he clicked his tongue. Compared to the other mountains, the 9th mountain was indeed a little strange. The peak of the 9th mountain seemed to have been cut off by someone. The surface was smooth and even emitted wisps of sword chi. Martial Granduncle, I heard from Master that there was once a shameless guy who went to tease her. Then, in a fit of anger, she attacked. In the end, she didn't hit him. Instead, she cut off half of her own mountain peak. Qingmu said, "Well, don't listen to your master's nonsense." With that ice cube face of hers, who would flirt with her? Jiangchen's face reddened as he thought back to the past and smiled bitterly. Of course, with Jiangchen's thick skin, he only blushed slightly to show his respect. After a few breaths, his complexion returned to normal. I'll stay here. At this moment, Jiangchen walked towards a palace at the peak of the mountain and walked in very naturally. This gave Qingmu a fright. She knew very well that this palace was where the 9th mountain lord lived. Others could not enter at all. Even Qingmu, the only true disciple of the 9th mountain lord, rarely went in. Martial Granduncle, Master doesn't allow ordinary people to enter. Qingmu advised, although half of the peak of the 9th mountain has been cut off, it's still very big. Why don't you live somewhere else? Am I an ordinary person? Jiangchen teased. All right, I'll stay here. After saying that, Jiangchen's gaze suddenly looked into the distance. It was the first mountain. If it was in the past, it wouldn't be your turn to live in the palace of the first mountain, Jiangchen muttered. Then, Jiangchen entered the palace. The moment he opened the door, a beautiful figure appeared before his eyes. She was wearing a purple dress and a bright red hairpin. Her back was like a charm, and only an inch of her snow-white neck could be seen under her hair. Tisk TSK. Several eras have passed, but you still haven't changed. Your skin is so good, and your waist is not bad either. Jiangchen was really blabbering here. Moreover, at the end, Jiangchen did not forget to add, as if he was asking a question, it's your chest. Is it still the same as before? Several eras ago, you and I were the same generation, and you were indeed stronger than me. However, several eras have passed, and you have only just returned. As for me, I'm already a celestial lord. Watch your words. The beautiful figure turned around. Her peerless face was flawless. However, there was no expression on her face. She was like a block of ice that would never melt, and she gave off the feeling that she was thousands of miles away. Jiangchen had long been used to this. He was not afraid at all. He slowly walked in front of the 9th mountain lord and slowly leaned his face forward. The 9th mountain lord's expression was still the same, calm and cold. However, deep in her eyes, there was a trace of panic. What? You want to hit me? Jiangchen spoke in a mocking tone. Since he was too close to the 9th mountain lord, his hot breath blew into the 9th mountain lord's ears. At this moment, the 9th mountain lord's body showed a trace of abnormality. Her entire body was hot, and even a trace of ripples appeared in her cold eyes. In the next moment, Jiangchen smiled evilly. He did not care that the other party was the 9th mountain lord. He stretched out his hand and hugged her slender waist. You! The ninth mountain lord's body was boiling. Looking at Jiang Chun, who was so close to her, the frost on her face finally melted. Jiang Chun laughed and hugged the ninth mountain lord tightly in his arms. He whispered in her ear, "So what if you're strong? You bastard!" The ninth mountain lord was furious. Her face was red, and she stretched out her hand to push Jiang Chun away. However, for some reason, even though she was a celestial lord, her outstretched hands were weak and powerless. "Hey, your apprentice told me that when someone flirted with you, you attacked him out of anger, and half of the mountain was razed to the ground. Do you think it's true?" Jiang Chun said sarcastically. "You?" The ninth mountain lord was speechless. Of course, she knew what had happened back then. It was not that Jiang Chun had tried to flirt with her. Instead, she had tried to flirt with Jiang Chun when she had drunk too much. In the end, she failed to flirt with him. In her anger, she flattened half of the mountain. Of course, when she told the public, she naturally said that someone had tried to flirt with her. "What do you plan to do now that you're back?" After a dozen breaths, the two of them separated. The ninth mountain lord regained her ice-cold expression. "Of course, I'm here to settle the score," Jiang Chun said. "I've owed a debt for several generations. It's time to collect some interest." As he spoke, Jiang Chun looked outside the Great Hall. He wanted to see the first mountain, but in the end he saw Qing Mu hiding in a corner and peeking. His face was flushed red. "Your disciple has this hobby? Likes to see others being intimate?" Jiang Chun asked with a strange expression. The ninth mountain lord was also a little confused. Previously, she had been hugged by Jiang Chun and did not have the mind to care about anything else. But now, Qing Mu, go back and cultivate. The ninth mountain lord's face turned red. She thought to herself that she had lost face this time. She had actually been seen by her disciple. Qing Mu was not afraid of the ninth mountain lord at all. He said with a smile, "Then I won't disturb Master and Uncle Master." With that, Qing Mu ran away and muttered, "So Master is not cold. He's such a person." Chapter 1456. The immortal world had not changed in the past few eras. Ever since the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect was defeated, the people from the 6 major sects had disappeared. They must have gone into hiding. Now, the 3 immortal kings were in charge of the immortal world. As for the Kunlun Immortal Mountain, due to some special reasons, the 3 immortal kings could not control them. The Kunlun Immortal Mountain had never interfered in other matters. Both sides could be said to be peaceful. But now it was different. Jiang Chun had returned. He was the young master of the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect. He was also the young master of the Kunlun Immortal Mountain. He must have returned for revenge. Would the 3 great immortal kings be able to watch Jiang Chun grow up? Obviously not. Since they could not, the 3 immortal kings would definitely come looking for trouble. And with Jiang Chun's current strength, it would be difficult for him to stop them. Then, other than Zhou Kunlun, the only one who could help Jiang Chun stop the 3 immortal kings was the Kunlun Immortal Mountain. "Xianyu, you should give me some advice." Jiang Chun looked at the 9th mountain lord. Xianyu is her name. If more than half of the 9 mountain lords of the Kunlun Immortal Mountain support you, you don't have to be afraid of the 3 immortal kings. Xianyu said, "It's just that among the 9 mountain lords, other than the 6th mountain lord and me, the rest do not think highly of you, especially the 1st mountain lord. That old lady, don't mention her." Jiang Chun said unhappily. Jiang Chun and Xianyu knew very well that there was no deep hatred between him and the 1st mountain lord. However, the 1st mountain lord was inextricably linked to Jiang Chun's father, the 10,000 Mounts Immortal Lord. Because of this, the 1st mountain lord did not like Jiang Chun. "Where's the 10th mountain lord?" Jiang Chun asked. "He disappeared. I don't know where he went." Xianyu sighed. Both of them knew that if the 10th mountain lord was here, he would not need the help of the other mountain lords. He alone could intimidate the 3 immortal kings. However, the 10th mountain lord was too mysterious. He came and went without a trace. There were even rumors that the 10th mountain lord was in seclusion. Perhaps he was already dead. "Take it slow." You've just returned, so you should increase your cultivation first. Xianyu said, Kunlun Celestial Mountain is not an easy place to stay. The disciples of other sects will most likely come to find trouble with you. And as the mountain chieftain, I can't do anything to those disciples. You have to be careful. Are you concerned about me? Jiang Chen giggled. Indecent. Xianyu rolled her eyes at Jiang Chen. A trace of worry flashed in her eyes as she said, I don't know how much longer Uncle can hold on. If you have the time, you should go and see him. Let's go now. Jiang Chen's expression turned serious. In this immortal realm, his only remaining relative was Wan Cheng. If Wan Cheng died, Jiang Chen would no longer have any relatives in the immortal world. After saying that, Jiang Chen stood up and walked out of the hall. Do you need me to accompany you? Mystic Moon asked. No need, I can do it alone. Jiang Chen said softly. His voice was very calm, like still water. Looking at Jiang Chen's back, Xianyu's ice-cold face finally revealed a trace of a smile. You've finally returned. In this immortal realm, I'll accompany you, Xianyu said softly. Walking out of the hall, Jiang Chen walked along the mountain path towards the 8th peak. Along the way, there were people staring at Jiang Chen, their eyes filled with confusion. There were also people who directly mocked, a mere immortal. I'm afraid he doesn't even have the ability to fly in the sky in this immortal realm. Heh, what young master? The 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect has been destroyed. The 6 major sects are also gone. What is this young master? Calling him young master is polite, but to be honest, what is he? He's just a small immortal. At first, Jiang Chen didn't want to pay any attention to these people. But then he heard them say, you're just like your father. You're a good-for-nothing, and you won't have any future. Sooner or later, you'll be suppressed and die. Hearing this, Jiang Chen stopped in his tracks and slowly turned around. Then he raised his head and saw an outer sect disciple of the 9th mountain standing in the air. He was standing right above Jiang Chen. You can insult me, but you can't talk about my father. Jiang Chen's eyes were cold as he stared at the young man in the air and said, sometimes, talking too much will cost you your life. So what if I say it? You're a weakling who can't even fly in the air. What can you do to me? I'm standing right here. If you don't like it, fly up and hit me. After saying that, the young man laughed maniacally, his eyes full of disdain. One had to know that the laws of the immortal world were very powerful, and the suppression of the great Tao was even more ridiculous. Normal immortals could not fly at all. However, they did not know that with Jiang Chen's strength, not to mention flying, he could even travel 1,000 miles in the blink of an eye. Since you're a disciple of the 9th mountain, I won't make things difficult for you, Jiang Chen said in a low voice, giving Xianyu some face. He said, come down, apologize, and I'll let bygones be bygones. Are you kidding me? Do you really think you're the young master? The young man's face was still full of disdain, and he was still laughing maniacally. He said, you're making me laugh to death. I gave you a chance, but you didn't cherish it, Jiang Chen said softly. Boom! In the next moment, Jiang Chen stomped his feet on the ground like a dragon coming out of the abyss. With the shadow of a dragon and tiger, a green lamp appeared. A vine burst out, burning with the light of the 1,000-change heavenly lamp. With a piercing sound, a cold light pierced through the young man's body. Before he could even scream, the young man fell from the sky. His life was cut off. I gave you a chance, Jiang Chen said softly. He glanced at the peak of the 9th mountain and said, you can humiliate me, but you can't humiliate my father either. Xianyu, who was standing in front of the main hall, naturally saw and heard everything. She didn't know what to say or do. However, she was very sure of one thing. If Jiang Chen suffered a loss in the 9th mountain, she would definitely help Jiang Chen get revenge. It's just an outer sect disciple. After a few breaths, Xianyu spoke. Her voice echoed throughout the entire 9th mountain. At this moment, the disciples of the 9th mountain panicked. They did not expect that Xianyu, the mountain leader of the 9th mountain, who was also their master, would protect Jiang Chen. Qingmu, I told you to take good care of him. Xianyu was still standing outside the main hall. Her voice was cold, and with a shout, Qing Mu had already appeared in front of her. From now on, if he still needs to personally take action on Kunlun Mountain, then you can leave, Xian Yu said coldly. Qing Mu panicked. Xian Yu had never been angry at him. But now, master, I know my mistake. I'll go accompany him now, Qing Mu said hurriedly. Him? You should call him Uncle Master. Or Young Master. Xian Yu reminded him, I don't care if others are convinced by him as the Young Master. If I'm convinced, you have to be too. Chapter 1457. After such a commotion, the people of the Ninth Mountain did not dare to be disrespectful to Jiangchun. But to the people of the other peaks, what was Jiangchun? What was the use of a person with the lowest cultivation in the Kunlun Celestial Mountain and a down-and-out young master? So, what if he had the protection of Xian Yu? Xian Yu was not the only one who had the final say in the Kunlun Celestial Mountain. At this moment, Jiangchun was walking in front, and Qing Mu was following beside him. Her beautiful eyes were fixed on Jiangchun, and her mind was filled with greetings. She did not know why her master was so good to Jiangchun. Could it be that the two of them were really Dao companions? Uncle Grandmaster, between you and Master, what is the relationship? After a few breaths, Qing Mu could not help but ask, what relationship can there be? She wants me, but I refuse. Jiangchun teased, I don't like iceberg faces. Qing Mu was immediately speechless. She thought to herself that this was a standard case of a woman chasing a man. With Xian Yu's status and appearance, although she had not smiled for 10,000 years, the people chasing after her could line up from the first mountain to the ninth mountain. With such beauty, Jiangchun actually did not like her. Young Master is indeed Young Master. His standards are really high, Qing Mu thought to herself. She admired Jiangchun from the bottom of her heart. They walked forward. When the two of them walked down the ninth mountain and arrived at a main road in the mountains, they saw Jian Yun standing in front of them. His face was gloomy, and there was a trace of killing intent in the depths of his eyes. Little Jian, what are you doing? Qing Mu curled her lips and said, if you want to fight, I don't mind playing with you. But although I'm a woman, I don't know how to control my strength. If I cripple or kill you, don't blame me on the first mountain. The Lord of the First Mountain said that since Young Master has just returned, he's afraid that you won't be able to fit in with the celestial realm. I'm afraid that your usage of celestial energy isn't as good as it used to be. That's why he asked me to come over and train you, Jinyan said. He even warned, don't call me Little Jin anymore. Little Jin, are you going to do it yourself? Even if it's training with your cultivation, isn't this bullying the Young Master? Qing Mu said, still calling Little Sword. Jian Yun rolled his eyes in response. He pointed at the first mountain disciples behind him and said, let them train with the Young Master. Oh, the first mountain sure is thoughtful. The corner of Jiang Qin's lips curled up, but what if I don't accept? If you don't accept it, then don't go see your father. Jian Yun smiled evilly. At this moment, Jiang Qin's face suddenly turned cold, and his eyes were filled with killing intent. For Jiangchun, his only family in the immortal realm was his father. Now his father could not hold on any longer. If he did not allow him to see his father, he would not even be able to see him for the last time. Aren't you going too far by doing this? Qing Mu was the first to speak. Her beautiful face was filled with frost. She even took a step forward and was about to attack Jian Yun. Jian Yun was shocked. Although he was older, his strength was not as strong as Qing Mu. If they really fought, he would most likely be suppressed by Qing Mu. However, before Qing Mu could attack, Jiangchun suddenly laughed and nodded. All right, since the first mountain wants to train me, I will naturally accept. After all, this is the first mountain's good intentions. It's good that the Young Master understands. Jian Yun joked. Then shall we start now? Anytime, Jiangchun said, but then he frowned and said, but as you said, I haven't been in the immortal realm for a long time, and my use of immortal power is not as good as before. If I don't know how to control my strength and hurt the disciples of the first mountain, don't blame me. Kid, do you really think you're the Young Master? You're just an immortal. Who do you think you are? Hurt us? What a joke. Where does an immortal get his confidence from? The disciples behind Jian Yun scolded angrily and did not forget to mock Jiang Chen. Jiang Chen shook his head and did not say anything. Instead, he looked at Jin Yun and said, "Life and death is up to fate. Is that okay?" Oh. Jin Yun was stunned for a moment. Then he became excited. He originally wanted to bring the disciples of the first mountain to teach Jiang Chen a lesson, but now that Jiang Chen wanted to fight a life and death battle, then he could not blame anyone. What? Life and death is up to fate. Life and death battle. This, the power of an immortal, is challenging a perfected immortal? Those are the disciples of the first mountain. Many people were watching the show, and some of them knew that Jiang Chen had just killed an outer sect disciple of the ninth mountain. However, everyone knew that the disciples of the first mountain were far stronger than the disciples of the other mountains. They were all outer sect disciples. But if the outer sect disciples of the first mountain went to other mountains, they would definitely be able to enter the inner sect. That was the difference. Now, Jiang Chen, an immortal, dared to fight a perfected immortal of the first mountain to death. Was it not suicide? Uncle Master, they are all disciples of the Kunlun Immortal Mountain. Don't kill them. Spare their lives. Qing Mu muttered at the side. It's fine to kill one or two of your fellow disciples. After all, you are the young master. But if you kill too many, it will be difficult for master to speak up for you. Jiang Chen was stunned for a moment when he heard that. He was rather surprised. After all, others thought that Jiang Chen was courting death, but Qing Mu was worried that Jiang Chen would be too heavy-handed. You have that much confidence in me? Jiang Chen asked. Of course, you are my uncle master. If you lose, I will lose face. Qing Mu said. Jiang Chen was speechless. He thought that Qing Mu was very confident in him, but it turned out that this little girl was worried about his face. The strongest one among you will fight with me. I don't want to waste time. At this moment, Jiang Chen looked at the few disciples that Jian Yun had brought. Then his gaze landed on a red-haired youth. This person's aura was very strong. There were wisps of flames rising around his body, and there was a scorching power surging within his body. Among those disciples, this person was the strongest. You really don't know what's good for you. You actually dare to challenge a fire-type perfected immortal? Cultivation is divided into the 5 elements and 8 trigrams. Among the 5 elements, the fire type is the most violent. At the same realm, only the metal type can contend against the fire type. Exclamations sounded from all around. They secretly thought that Jiang Chen was really courting death this time. So what if it's fire type? What if my uncle master is of the water type? Qing Mu was unconvinced as she glared at the people around her. However, just as she finished speaking, she was slapped in the face by Jiang Chen. I'm only at the immortal realm. How can there be a difference? Jiang Chen said snappily. I'll use pure immortal power to fight with your fire-type immortal power. All right. Jian Yun smiled mockingly and said to the fire-type true immortal behind him, Yun Lai, don't beat him to death. No matter what, he is still the young master in name. Just cripple him. When Yun Lai heard this, he nodded confidently and said, I can use 60% of my cultivation. I won't kill him. Chapter 1458. Yun Lai was indeed very powerful. The disciples of the first mountain behind Jian Yun were also very powerful. Otherwise, Jian Yun would not have brought them here. At this moment, Yun Lai was very confident. He claimed that he only needed to use 60% of his power to defeat Jiang Chen. Jiang Chen laughed and shook his head. I'll give you a chance. Kid, have you lost your mind? I'm a fire elemental perfected immortal. You're only in the immortal realm. You haven't even awakened your element. How are you going to fight me? Yun Lai said disdainfully. As soon as he finished speaking, the flames on his body started to burn. The surrounding temperature suddenly rose, and a layer of fire clouds appeared above his head. Jiang Chen still had a faint smile on his face. He looked at Yun Lai, who was covered in flames, and waved at him. Come on, you're courting death. Yun Lai was infuriated by Jiang Chen's attitude. He shouted angrily, and a streak of flames turned into a seal. It was like a palm that suppressed Jiang Chun. Screech. However, at this moment, a long screech came from Jiang Chen's body. Then a giant bird rose up. It was burning with inextinguishable flames. It flapped its wings and destroyed Yun Lai's attack. What? That's a vermilion bird? Why does it look like an immortal bird? Could it be a phoenix? Cries of surprise could be heard all around because they had never seen such a bird before. It looked like a phoenix, but also a vermilion bird. However, there was an inextinguishable flame burning on it. What was that? Jiang Chun smiled bitterly. Ever since he started cultivating the soul enhancement demonic technique, his Tao soul had become more and more powerful. Now, Jiang Chun did not know what to call it. However, one thing was for sure. All three of his Tao souls were very powerful. Tao soul? It's just something from the lower realm. It's useless in the immortal realm, Yun Lai said disdainfully. He rushed out and pushed his hands forward. The flames surged again. This time, the flames turned into several pillars. Like a cage, Jiang Chun was trapped inside. However, before he could make a move, purple gold vines rose from the ground and cut through the pillars of flames like sharp blades. Then, purple gold vines rushed out like chains and trapped Yun Lai. Then, the inextinguishable fire fell and drowned him. Cries of alarm rang out from the surroundings once more, and the miserable cries under the inextinguishable flames continued unabated. Yun Lai was miserable. He was a fire-type true immortal, but the flames he cultivated were inferior to the inextinguishable flame. In the inextinguishable fire, the power in his body was being refined, and even his immortal power was gradually disappearing. The flames that he was so proud of were like grass and trees in front of the undying flames. They burned with a single touch, and they burned cleanly. Stop! Jian Yun panicked. Yun Lai was an outer sect prodigy of the First Mountain. If anything happened to him, he would be held responsible. However, Jiang Chun did not seem to hear him. The undying flame continued to burn. At the same time, purple gold vines burst forth, piercing into the undying flame like swords. Ah! The miserable cries were even louder. As soon as blood flowed out of Yun Lai's body, it was burned by the undying flame. Jian Yun was furious. He raised his palm, wanting to save Yun Lai. However, before he could make a move, Qing Mu coughed lightly and said leisurely, "Did you not see that I was here?" As soon as he said that, Jian Yun immediately cowered. After all, he was no match for Qing Mu. Sorry, I don't know how to control my strength. After more than 10 breaths, Jiang Chun seemed to have come back to his senses. With a wave of his hand, the undying flame disappeared. At that moment, everyone saw that Yun Lai had collapsed on the ground without a trace of injury on his body. However, the celestial force in his body had been completely refined. You've always looked down on me, an immortal. Now, what are you, a cripple? Jiang Chun teased. Under the undying flame, Yun Lai's cultivation had been refined. Now, he was even inferior to immortal. Yun Lai had already broken down. After glaring angrily at Jiang Chun, he fainted on the spot. Jian Yun's face was red. He stared at Jiang Chun, clenched his fists, and said coldly, "He's an outer disciple of the First Mountain. He's a prodigy. How dare you cripple him?" "Are you blind?" Jiang Chun said snappily. "I've already crippled him. Why are you still talking about whether I dare or not? If a few more people come, I'll still cripple him." After saying that, Jiang Chun walked to Jian Yun's side and said softly, "You can't do anything to me." Then, under Jian Yun's gloomy expression, Jiang Chun slowly walked past Jian Yun and laughed a few times. The faces of the disciples behind Jian Yun turned pale as fear lingered in their hearts. If it had not been for Yun Lai, they would have been the ones whose cultivations would have been crippled. An immortal with no elemental affinity was able to defeat a fire-type, true, immortal like Yun Lai with his lower realm Tao soul. Just how powerful is he? Could it be that we've really underestimated him? In his era, he was the top of the younger generation. It was said that not many people could compete with him. If it wasn't for the great change in the 10,000 Creations Immortal sect, he would have risen to power in this era. I'm afraid the three immortal kings wouldn't have anything to do with him. The people around were discussing Jiang Chun. After all, the strength that Jiang Chun had displayed was too strong. If such a person was nurtured well by the Kunlun Celestial Mountain and given enough cultivation resources, his rise would definitely be unstoppable. However, everyone knew that the current Kunlun Celestial Mountain was not peaceful. Other than the ninth mountain, the other mountains probably didn't have a good attitude towards Jiang Chun. He can't stay any longer. Sooner or later, he will be expelled from Kunlun Celestial Mountain or put under house arrest. At this moment, Jiang Chun didn't care about the voices around him. He narrowed his eyes and walked towards the first mountain. Qing Mu followed behind with excitement on his small face. Uncle Granduncle, you're so powerful. You can actually suppress a fire-type true immortal at the immortal realm. Qing Mu said, then when you reach the true immortal realm and awaken your attributes, won't you be invincible among true immortals? Oh, is that so? Maybe? Jiang Chun asked with a devilish smile on his face. Is it very powerful to be invincible among the same realm? Isn't it powerful? Qing Mu was dumbfounded by the question. If I only pursue invincibility among the same realm, then so what if I don't become an immortal? Jiang Chun said softly. I want to be invincible for a lifetime. Don't look at it in front of you. What is the same realm? So what if I cross 3 or 5 realms? This, Uncle Granduncle, you are indeed very strong, but this is the immortal realm. To be able to fight across one realm is already very powerful. Qing Mu said. Jiang Chun smiled and didn't explain anything. It was because Qing Mu and he were not from the same era. And in Jiang Chun's era, everyone knew that his combat strength had already reached the level of crossing 2 realms. You're not going to let me off? When the two of them reached the foot of the first mountain, Jiang Chun's face darkened. It was because Jin Yin had unknowingly arrived in front of them. At this moment, he had brought a few disciples and blocked the entrance of the first mountain. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.